Chapter 1100. In the cylindrical space of a number 3 forbidden area, Lin Feng absorbed the two-star universe crystal while recovering his true dragon saint power and talent soul. Once he was fully recovered, he forcibly merged with the golden crown again and exhausted the soul energy bit by bit. For a galaxy state warrior, the recovery of soul energy was long and difficult, but Lin Feng had the 10,000 origin mustardy stone, a truly priceless treasure, a universal treasure that even black hole level warriors coveted. The 10,000 origin mustardy stone nurtured the soul. Otherwise, Lin Feng still couldn't meet the minimum requirement of the golden crown. The ability to quickly recover soul power was the simplest, but quite practical. On the Nemo planet, the holy fruit that recovered soul power was priceless. As for the universe crystal, it was even more useful. Because of the existence of the two-star universe crystal, Lin Feng could reach the 9th level of heaven glimpse at the age of 5, breaking through to the life-breaking realm. In fact, even if I can collect 9 god tokens, I don't need to advance immediately. Lin Feng was very clear about his strength. Not a single one of them was wrong. Not a single one of them was wrong. Not a single one of them was wrong. Waving Alliance? Joker? Huiga? Suoyu? What about the empty fold of ghouls? Li Mu Bai, Shiri, Luo Shun. They were all famous. Even the warriors who entered the dojo with the Little U Royal Crystal wouldn't be ordinary. I have to fight for enough time here to improve my strength to the life-breaking realm. Lin Feng thought. The stronger the strength, the stronger the competition. It was the 70th day of the actual combat trial. Nothing happened in the past 10 days. Everyone is holding their breath and waiting. Princess Li said. Lin Feng nodded. Because in 10 days, on the 80th day, Wuxia number 3 Tao Realm would be able to challenge. Everyone knew where Wuxia number 3 Tao Realm was and wanted to know the secrets hidden in it, so they didn't do much. But it was the calm before the storm. There are 5 bronze god tokens left. Third sister has you to provide trial points. Wu Xian has the Star Hall Master. Fan Xing has the Glory Alliance, but Lei Jin and the Poor King of Hell don't. Princess Li said. That's not all. There are also Ji Zhongyang and Ji Ruyun from the Flying Ji race. They don't have many trial points left either. Lin Feng said. He had challenged them before and earned some trial points. Although they had Silver Sea God tokens, he estimated that they were around the same level as Lei Jin and the Poor Yama King. Princess Li's beautiful eyes flickered. So, it will be chaotic soon. I think so. Lin Feng nodded. Even without Wuxia number 3, the alliance of the 5 races of Tian Mo is imperative. The 5 clans of Tian Mo would definitely unite, because if they wanted to survive, they had to eliminate their differences. Once the Miracle Garden worked together, whether it was the Glory Alliance or the Star Hall, they could only suffer losses. Right now, there were 17 martial artists left. Lin Feng returned to the cylindrical space and continued to cultivate. The biggest advantage of cooperating with the 2 girls of the Peerless Hall was not to increase their strength, but to know the current situation like the back of their hand and not to miss any information. Princess Li was not only smart, but also resourceful and resourceful. Although she was a woman, she could easily control the overall situation and make the most favorable judgment and choice. It's almost time. Lin Feng was secretly shocked. The innate talent soul and the true dragon saint power exerted a crazy amount of pressure, like a flood breaking through a dam. After more than 20 days of continuous attacks, the golden crown's soul was almost dying. As the last wave of power blasted out in an instant, bang! Lin Feng only felt a roar in his head. The talent soul wrapped the crown's soul and completely controlled it. The talent soul seemed to become the core of the golden crown. The powerful energy was under his control, and all the information of the golden crown was clearly reflected in his mind. Quantero's crown. Lin Feng was overjoyed. This was a real nebula-level treasure, the only one that could exert the power of the nebula level. However, the nebula-level treasure was driven by the cultivation of Tianho. It was the most critical existence, like the heart of origin. Right now, the information of the outer layer of the Quantero's crown was clear, but the information of the core was still not visible. It requires the cultivation of Tian Ho to open the second aperture. Lin Feng was very clear. Even so, he was already very satisfied. The power of the first layer of the Quantero's crown was already in the nebula level category. Although he could not exert its full power, its power was comparable to the top attack of a life-saving stage. For him, who was besieged on all sides, the control of the golden crown was like a timely rain. This is the divine artifact of Shiva's avatar recorded in the sacred book Quantero. Lin Feng had read Quantero before. Shiva had 8 avatars that corresponded to the 8 sacred books. The sacred book Quantero corresponded to the avatar of Shiva, which advocated the dual cultivation method and the path of family. The reason why he could easily take the Quantero's crown was because the test of Quantero in the sacred temple was more about one's will. The Quantero's crown has a good defensive ability. Not only the soul defense, but the physical defense is also very strong, Lin Feng thought to himself. His defense was already very strong. With the addition of the Quantero's crown, it would be like an impenetrable fortress. Come to think of it, what was the weakest point of a holy power cultivator? It was not the soul defense, but the physical defense. Once the enemy got close to him, he would be sentenced to death. The defense is still somewhat useful, but the dual cultivation method. Lin Feng smiled bitterly and shook his head. In addition to the basic defense, the Quantero's crown was also a sacred artifact for cultivation. Based on the information, this was the strongest ability of the Quantero's crown. It was indeed worthy of being the treasure of Shiva's avatar of Shiva, but this ability was somewhat useless to him. Fortunately, at least it has an offensive ability. Lin Feng was secretly relieved. He had spent a lot of effort. If he only obtained a defensive treasure, it would be a great loss. It was not easy to open the second aperture of a Heaven Ho cultivator. It required enough luck and comprehension. He had no way of knowing what the ability hidden in the depths of the Quantero's crown was, let alone cultivating it. What he could really put his heart and soul into cultivating was the offensive ability of the Heaven Ho cultivator's first aperture. Quantero's illusion. Lin Feng was not proficient in illusion attacks. But even if he had never seen a pig run, he had eaten pork. Lin Feng quickly got the hang of it. With his strong willpower and soul cultivation, he could easily unleash the power of the illusion. The Quantero's illusion was very strong, but its weaknesses were also very obvious. First, it is ineffective against women. Second, it is less effective against holy power cultivators with strong willpower. Third, it is less effective against holy power cultivators who are stronger than me. There were weaknesses, but there were also strengths. After all, there were very few holy power cultivators. Most of the strong ones were male. So, the Quantero's illusion was very adaptable. Its power was self-evident. Ordinary life-breaking cultivators would not be able to resist an illusion of this level with their willpower. This will be my strongest trump card. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. To be continued. Chapter 1101. It was the 8th day of the actual combat trial. Every warrior's trial points were deducted by 1 point. Lei Jin, Poor Yama, Ji Ruyun, and Miracle Garden had their trial points reduced to the lowest point. They could no longer enter the forbidden area. Princess Qiong also used up the 3 trial points that Lin Feng gave her before. Fortunately, Lin Feng had more trial points, so he transferred another 4 trial points. Sorry, child Lin. Princess Qiong bit her lips. It doesn't matter. Lin Feng smiled. He still had 4 trial points, which was enough to ensure that he had the highest trial points among all the warriors. It didn't matter if he had more or less. The combat power of the 3 of them couldn't be compared with the other forces. If Princess Qiong was missing, it would be worse. Trial points were useful, but just like money and military merits, they were just numbers when they reached a certain value. The most important thing was to make the best use of everything. Can you challenge me? Princess Li went straight to the point. Among the 3, Lin Feng had the most trial points, so the task of challenging was given to Lin Feng. No. Lin Feng shook his head. The name of Wind Youth number 11 was still surrounded by a layer of golden light. He couldn't challenge it. It's strange. 30 days should have passed. Princess Li murmured. Lin Feng was also puzzled. The artificial intelligence said clearly that Challenger number 11 had the control of Tao Realm number 3 for 30 days. The other warriors could challenge it on the 31st day. Now, 30 days had passed, but he still couldn't challenge it. Could it be? Did the Wind Youth get the secret of Wu Shun Dao Realm again? Could it be directly in Wu Shun Dao Realm number 3? Princess Qiong whispered. Wow, Lin Feng's eyes lit up and looked at Princess Li. The latter also understood. The onlookers saw more clearly. It was very likely what Princess Qiong said. But if that's the case, we have no chance. Princess Li said. Yes. Lin Feng responded. Now is the fiercest and most dangerous time. The 5 clans of Tian and Mo were all enraged and killed whoever they caught. There's no need to compete with them. When a situation stabilizes, we will make plans. Anyway, the Tianshan token will not run away. Princess Li said. According to the current situation, it was difficult for one of the warriors to get 9 Tianshan tokens. It was more likely that each of them would get several tokens. Princess Li's strategy was very simple. Let them rob each other, and the Tianshan tokens of the eliminated warriors would belong to the winners. As long as they couldn't get 9 tokens, as time went by, there would be fewer and fewer warriors, and the Tianshan tokens would be more and more concentrated. It would be more efficient to snatch it then. Lin Feng and the other 2 waited. They were waiting for the result of Wu Shun number 3's challenge. They really want to know what secrets Wu Shun know. 3 had. Whoosh. Princess Li's beautiful figure flashed and came back instantly. Second sister, how is it? Princess Luo asked urgently. I just watched from afar. Princess Li said softly. The outside of number 3 Tao Realm of Wushan is occupied by the 5 clans of Tianma. No one can get close. Ah, Princess Luo exclaimed. They still join hands. Lin Feng frowned. Although he had guessed it, he was still quite shocked when he saw it. Lei Jin, Qin Yayama, Ji Changyang, Qi Lianxin, Ji Ruyun, and Kuei Mo. The 6 powerhouses join hands. The 5 clans of Tianma were complementary to each other. Their strength was even more terrible when they joined hands. The Glory Alliance watched from the side, but they couldn't get close. Princess Li said. Lin Feng nodded. King Tianyao was very wise. The 5 clans of Tianma were crazy now. It didn't matter if they died together. They were on the verge of being eliminated, so they were enraged. What about the Star Hall? Lin Feng asked. I didn't see the Star Hall Master in Wuxian, but I met Zhu Qing on the way back. Princess Li said. Oh. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and then. Princess Li said leisurely, he can't kill me. Her calm voice contained confidence. Lin Feng looked at Princess Li. There was no wound on her body. She was ranked 86th on the democratic list. Obviously, she had a secret. It was not easy to escape unscathed from Zhu Qing, who was ranked 18th on the democratic list. Princess Luo was not surprised at all. So, Zhu Qing left the Star Hall Master? I don't know yet. Princess Li said, but Zhu Qing acted alone, which is probably a signal. Our chance is coming. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Yes. Princess Li smiled. In the number 3 forbidden area, Lin Feng and the other 2 waited patiently. From the 80th day, it slowly came to the 81st day. Just as Lin Feng was about to return to the cylindrical space, a familiar voice sounded in his mind. Trial participant number 5 has paid the highest 4 points to obtain the right to challenge. The challenge starts. The winner can have 30 days of control of the number 3 Tao Realm. The voice suddenly stopped. Not only Lin Feng, but also King Tianyao, the Star Hall Master, and Zhu Qing were shocked. Challenger number 5? It's her, Qi Lianxin. Lin Feng remembered. She was a strong practitioner of the Red Sun clan and ranked 3rd on the Minwell list. The young man with the wind was only in the Heaven Glimpse realm. He couldn't be her opponent at all. Lin Feng didn't care about the outcome. Instead, the artificial intelligence's words had a deeper meaning. That is to say, everyone can challenge, but only the warrior who paid the highest trial points has the right to challenge. In a one-on-one challenge, the winner can have 30 days of control of the Wu God Dao realm. Lin Feng sorted out his thoughts quickly. He sighed and became more curious about the Wu God Dao realm. His strength is almost the same as yours. He is close to the Minwo Earth list. Princess Li said softly and suddenly smiled. But this is his previous strength. It was unknown whether she was talking about Lin Feng or him. Challenger number 11, the young man with the wind. He was the most mysterious among the 27 warriors. So far, no one knew his true face. His strength in the Heaven Glimpse realm was even more suspicious. The control of the Wu God Dao realm was quickly decided. But in the end, everyone's jaws dropped. Challenger number 11 wins. He has 30 days of control of number 3 God Dao realm. The rest of the warriors can challenge from the 31st day. There was an uproar. No one thought that Qi Lianxin would lose. In a one-on-one challenge, he lost to an unknown strong practitioner of the Heaven Glimpse realm. It was shocking. Impossible, Princess Li murmured. It seems that the Wu God Dao realm is not simple. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. If the young man with the wind strength was really close to the Minwa list, as Qi Lianxin said, then he could defeat Qi Lianxin by relying on the harvest of the Wu God Dao realm. From the artificial intelligence's performance, the importance of the Wu God Dao realm was obvious. Just as Lin Feng was thinking, a voice suddenly rang out in his mind. The cold and familiar voice rang out once again. Challenger number 11, open the Wu God Dao realm. Chapter 1102. Challenger number 2, Master of Star Hall. Princess Li exclaimed. Princess Li's beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. She covered her mouth with both hands. Master of Star Hall has opened Tao realm number 2 of Wushan. Lin Feng's chest rose and fell slightly. But one wave came after another. Just as Tao realm number 3 of Wushan was settled, there was Tao realm number 2 of Wushan. The situation was getting more and more complicated. Challenger number 2 has 20 days of control over Tao realm number 2. The rest of the warriors can challenge on the 21st day. After the artificial intelligence's voice, all the strong practitioners were stunned again. What did it mean? Tao realm number 2 and Tao realm number 3 were different? One had 30 days of control, while the other had 20 days of control. What was the difference? It's getting more and more interesting. Princess Li smiled softly. Tao realm number 2 may be more precious than Tao realm number 3. Lin Feng said. Most likely. Princess Li said. In fact, I'm very curious. What on earth is in Tao realm number 2 of Wushan that can greatly improve the strength of the warriors in such a short time? Lin Feng smiled. Princess Li had grown up in Nemo's star. She didn't know that there was another side of the universe besides power, technology. Stellar-level technology was already incredible, and stellar-level technology was even more amazing. Was it difficult to improve a stellar-level warrior's strength quickly with stellar-level technology? Tao realm number 3 of Wushan. Divine realm number 3 of Yu Emperor. Lin Feng suppressed his throbbing in joy. He was right to come. Here would be an opportunity for him to soar. It's a pity that we can't enter Tao realm number 3 or Tao realm number 2. Princess Li frowned slightly. She also knew that Tao realm number 3 of Wushan was precious. But even Qi Lianxin failed to challenge Tao realm number 3 of Wushan. To defeat the young man of wind, the strength of the young man of wind was at least close to the divine list of Wushan. And this was the current requirement. After 30 days, the strength of the young man of wind, perhaps it would be even stronger. As for Tao realm number 2 of Wushan, there was no need to think about it. It was Master of Star Hall who opened it. Except for King Tianyao, who dared to challenge Master of Star Hall. No, we still have a chance. Lin Feng said, and his gaze fell on the two women. Since there are Wushan number 3 and Wushan number 2 Dao realm, then there must be Wushan number 1 Dao realm. Based on the current situation, Wushan number 1 Dao realm will be the best Wushan number 1 Dao realm. Wushan number 1 Dao realm had yet to be discovered. But we can't get out, young Master Lin, Princess Xian said hesitantly. Wait. Lin Feng clenched his fists. although his heart was surging with excitement, and he really wanted to find the traces of Wu Shan number 1 Dao realm expert. The situation was uncertain, and a great battle was about to break out. With the strength of the three of them, no matter which force they encountered, they would be courting death. Only when the Miracle Garden experts ran out of trial points would the situation stabilize and be advantageous to their side. Even if he couldn't bear it, he still had to bear it. Princess Li said, "Wait 30 days at most, and the situation will be clear. At that time, we will have a chance to attack," but Princess Li showed a helpless expression. Even if the Glory Alliance and the Starry Hall suffer casualties, their combat capability is still better than ours. Lin Feng nodded. But at that time, they will fight on their own. Now, the master of the Starry Hall and Zhu Qing seem to have turned against each other. Lin Feng said, "It is impossible to make these old foxes cooperate sincerely. As the pressure of elimination increases, they will soon fall apart." Princess Li and Princess Xian agreed. Even if they were still in an alliance, they would be scheming against each other secretly. "Princess Li, you also practice the Tao of Darkness, right?" Lin Feng said. He could feel Princess Li's aura. "What's wrong?" Princess Li asked in surprise. "Take it." Lin Feng threw out a bottle of low-grade Yu-Clan Divine Medicine in exchange for 1 bottle from King Tianyao. Now he had 6 bottles. However, even if he absorbed all 6 bottles, he wouldn't be able to achieve a breakthrough. He had just stepped into the 2nd stage of the 6 dark paths and the distance to the 3rd stage. He needed 10 bottles of primary Yu-Clan's magic medicine. But Princess Li was different. She majored in 1 or 2 of the Great Tao of Darkness and majored in others. The Great Tao of Darkness that she majored in must be close to the bottleneck of the 3rd level, and she needed an epiphany. With a bottle of primary Yu-Clan's magic medicine, she could immediately cross the bottleneck and enter a new level. There is a big gap between the 2nd level and the 3rd level of the Great Tao of Darkness. One was the power of the ordinary breaking life stage, and the other was the power of the top breaking life stage. So powerful? Princess Li's pretty face was shocked. She was really shocked when she heard Lin Feng's description of primary Yu-Clan's magic medicine. Lin Feng nodded. 30 days is enough for your strength to take a big step forward. Princess Li pursed her lips and nodded. Then, I will accept your offer. This is yours, Princess Xian. Lin Feng took out some 2-star universe crystals and gave them to Princess Xian. Princess Xian took them in surprise. She instantly felt the hidden energy in the universe crystals and exclaimed. Lin Feng said, "These can help you improve your strength and level. They should be of some help." Lin Feng knew that it was not easy for Princess Xian to improve her strength quickly. He had no other way. Now he could do whatever he could. "This is too expensive, child Lin." Princess Xian was embarrassed. "Take it, third sister," Princess Li said softly. She smiled softly with bright eyes and bright teeth. A heart-shaped pendant necklace appeared in her hand. It was one of the 2 top-grade holy treasures of heaven level that she wanted to exchange for Lin Feng's Great Yu Imperial Crystal. It was a special holy treasure heart chain. "It's impolite not to reciprocate," Princess Li said. "This treasure heart chain is a small gift from us sisters. Please accept it." Holy treasure. Okay. Lin Feng did not hesitate to take the treasure heart chain. What he needed most now was a holy treasure that could exert the power of the talent soul of Breaking Life realm. After all, he was still in the Heaven Glimpse realm on Taiyu Star. There was still a long way to go to Breaking Life realm. Everyone increased their fighting strength. There was no gain without effort. Lin Feng knew that it was difficult for him to get the Wu God token by himself. He could use tricks before, but now he had to earn it by fighting for it with his strength. If he wanted to find Wu God number 1 in the Tao realm, he had to leave the forbidden area. And to leave the forbidden area, he had to be strong enough to protect himself. There was no other way. At least 10 days to half a month, at most 30 days to 4 days. There must be a big change. Lin Feng was clear. He, Princess Li, and Princess Xian had been waiting. The opportunity was getting closer and closer. Now, they only needed to increase their fighting strength and seize this opportunity with enough strength. Swish! Taking out the treasure heart chain, Lin Feng's eyes brightened. In an instant, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The golden dragon roared behind him. Lin Feng's arrogant sword. This is it. It's just in time. Lin Feng was overjoyed. Chapter 1103. It's getting chaotic outside the Forbidden Zone. As the young man defeated Qi Lianxin and the Master of Star Hall opened the Tao realm of God Wu, all the strong practitioners were envious. No matter how they looked at it, the Tao realm of God Wu was not simple. It could make a strong practitioner of Heaven Glimpse defeat Qi Lianxin, who was ranked 3rd on the Minwa list, and the Tao realm of God Wu seemed to be better than the Tao realm of God Wu number 3. The Master of Star Hall was already so strong. How strong would he be if he improved further? Even King Tianyao, who was ranked 6th on the Minwa list, was anxious. He searched everywhere for the whereabouts of the Tao realm of God Wu number 1. Everyone wanted to find the most valuable gold mine. King Kuan, who was ranked 3rd, was even more anxious. He didn't have the power to fight alone, and he was a mortal enemy of the Master of Star Hall. He didn't have many trial points. Even if he could defeat the challenger, the prerequisite was that he had enough trial points to challenge the challenger. In the Mu God Dojo, it wasn't about having enough trial points. It was about having the most trial points to get the right to challenge. The happiest people were Lei Jin, poor King of Hell, and the other warriors of Miracle Garden. They finally got the chance. In the last 10 days, they would use up all their trial points. If they couldn't get the 9 Mu God tokens, then they would be eliminated. King White Tiger and King Fan Xing are eliminated. Poor King of Hell, Qi Lianxin, and Ji Ruyun are eliminated. A world-shaking battle. Lin Feng listened to Princess Li and sighed. He guessed that the battle was going to happen, but he didn't expect it to happen so soon. He also didn't expect that Miracle Garden would choose the toughest bone to bite. The Master of Star Hall was in the Tao realm of God Wu number 1. The Star Hall was divided. Wu Xian stayed in the Forbidden Zone. Zhu Qing was searching for the Tao realm of God Wu number 1 alone. King Kuan was also included. They were easier to defeat than the Glory Alliance. The strongest was King Tianyao, King White Tiger, who was ranked number 0 on the Minwa list, and King Fan Xing. The Glory Alliance was quite strong. So crazy. Princess Li murmured. If it was possible, the Miracle Garden wouldn't want to fight the Glory Alliance. Lin Feng shook his head. It's a pity that the Glory Alliance is too strong. Princess Li nodded. Only by defeating the Glory Alliance, Lei Jin, the poor King of Hell, and other powerhouses of the Miracle Garden can we collect the 9 Mu God tokens. The Heavenly Brilliance King had at least 3 tokens. Including himself, the White Tiger King, and the Fan Xing Monarch, he probably had more than 6 or even 7. How many tokens did Zhu Qing and the Kuan Monarch alone have? Even if he gave it to Lei Jin and the poor King of Hell, it wouldn't be enough. Who took the Divine Sea tokens of the 5 eliminated people? Lin Feng asked. King Tianyao got 2, Lei Jin got 2, and Kuei Mo got 1. Princess Li said, according to my estimation, King Tianyao should have 5 or 6 tokens with the 2 Mu God tokens. More or less, Lin Feng said. King Tianyao should be able to take one of the 3 spots. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. The tallest person would be destroyed by the crowd. The Heavenly Glory King would definitely become a thorn in the eyes of the martial artists. It was not a problem for him to be strong, but it would be very troublesome to travel with him. This was the reason why he had chosen not to travel with the Glory Alliance. However, times change, and it was often very interesting. Ding! A sound suddenly sounded in his mind. It was from the artificial intelligence. Trial Taker number 9 has released 1 Mu God token. You have 1 chance to bid. The one who offers the highest number of trial points will get it. Countdown of 60 seconds. Lin Feng couldn't help laughing. The situation had developed unexpectedly. On the 89th day, Lei Jin released a Mu God token. Trial Taker number 9 was Lei Jin. It should be released by force. Lin Feng judged that he didn't have a similar function in the Mu God token. After a big battle, Lei Jin had earned 2 Mu God tokens and had a surplus. However, he had reached the end of his trial points and would be eliminated today. Swish! Lin Feng's consciousness entered the Mu God token. There was a countdown of 60 seconds in front of him. There were only 50 seconds left. He had very little time to consider and had to make a decision. He already had 6 Mu God tokens. If he got one more, he would have 7. He was very close to 9, but only close. The further he went, the less likely he would get one. Moreover, his real goal was not the Mu God token. The Wind Youth hasn't used up any trial points. He should have around 18 points now. It's quite sufficient. The Stellar Hall Master and King Heavenly Glory might have between 10 and 15 points. Lin Feng knew that they had used up a small portion of their points to give to Wu Xian and King Fanxing. These 3 were his competitors. The competition for the first token will be very intense. There is no need to pay a high price. Lin Feng hesitated for a moment and made a bid. 3 trial points. It wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. It was enough to suppress the other silver Mu God tokens. However, Lin Feng didn't have any confidence in getting this Mu God token. The possibility was less than 1%. As expected, the countdown of 60 seconds ended. Trial taker number 1 has obtained 1 Mu God token. The artificial intelligence's voice was very calm, but it caused an uproar. If he got this token, King Heavenly Glory would be closer to advancing. Lin Feng and the other 2 chose to continue waiting. They waited for the aftermath of the Miracle Garden to pass. They waited for the chase between King Heavenly Glory and the Miracle Garden to end. Another 10 days passed. When they saw Ji Changyang's name disappear from the Mu God token, the artificial intelligence's voice sounded again. Trial taker number 9 has released 1 Mu God token. You have 1 chance to bid. The one with the highest number of trial points will get it. Countdown of 60 seconds, the same scene, the same voice. Lin Feng couldn't help smiling. He had thought that this auction belonged to Lei Jin, but it turned out that Lei Jin had only taken the most basic 1 trial point. Lei Jin's elimination was only a matter of time. This time, Lin Feng still bid 3 trial points, but he still didn't get it. Trial taker number 11 has obtained 1 Mu God token. This time, it was the Stellar Hall Master who got it. As expected, King Heavenly Glory had spent at least 5 trial points to obtain the first Mu God token. It could have been 7 or 8 points at most. If he used it again, King Heavenly Glory wouldn't have many trial points left. However, what was strange was that trial taker number 11, the Wind Youth, didn't seem to make a move. On the first day, a warrior stood in front of Dao Realm Wu Xinjiao, King Heavenly Glory. He was the only warrior who dared to challenge the Stellar Hall Master. Since they didn't know where Dao Realm Wu Xinjiao was, they would challenge and snatch Dao Realm Wu Xinjiao. Unlike Dao Realm Wu Xinjiao, which had many challengers, no one dared to challenge Dao Realm Wu Xinjiao. Trial taker number 1 has obtained the right to challenge. The challenge begins. The winner will have the right to control Dao Realm Wu Xinjiao. The voice suddenly sounded. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The battle between King Heavenly Glory and the Stellar Hall Master. Who was stronger? Chapter 1104. The winner was King Tianyao. It was normal that the Master of Star Hall didn't have any dark horse. They were all powerhouses on the heavenly list. Their strength had reached a bottleneck. Unless they crossed the star stage and entered the galaxy state, it was unrealistic to improve their strength in a short time. Even if they were in the Dao realm of Wu God, it was useless, because their potential had been emptied. Trial taker number 1 wins. He has 20 days of control over Dao realm number 2. The rest of the warriors can challenge on the 21st day. The artificial intelligence's voice sounded. King Kuan, Zhu Qing, and the others were relieved. They were ranked 3rd and 4th. As long as they could survive, they had a higher chance of advancing. They didn't want the effect of the Dao realm of Wu God to be too strong. After all, they hadn't entered the Dao realm of Wu God yet. Wu Xian is eliminated, Princess Li said. Lin Feng nodded. Not long after the Master of Star Hall was expelled from Dao realm number 2 by King Tianyao, Wu Xian's name disappeared from the God Wu token. He had been in the Forbidden Area. There was only one possibility for his sudden elimination. His God Wu token was given to the Master of Star Hall. The strength of the Master of Star Hall should have improved, Princess Li said, but she doesn't have many trial points left. Lin Feng judged. She had been maintaining Wu Xian's trial points and taking the second God Mu token from Lei Jin. The Stellar Hall Master's trial points had definitely fallen to the single digits. Although Wu Xian could help her in battle, one more trial point meant that she could live for 10 more days. Furthermore, she could still challenge and occupy the Tao realm of Wu God. Wu Xian was strong enough. Her use to the Master of Star Hall was not as important as the trial points. Excluding the 2 from the Tao realm of Wu God, there are 8 warriors left, Princess Li said. Lin Feng smiled. We will take 3 places. Finally, we can go out. Princess Li smiled. Lin Feng looked at Princess Li. Are you confident? Let's try. We can't stay here forever. Princess Li smiled. There was confidence in her smile. After taking the primary Yu clan's magic medicine, her strength had improved greatly. Lin Feng and the other 2 left the forbidden area. Outside of Feng Ji and Heavenly Glory King, there were only the Star Hall Master, Kuan Monarch, Lei Jin, Zhu Qing, and Kuei Mo left. However, all of them were super experts. 4 of them were ranked on the Minhwa Heaven list. The weakest, Kuei Mo, was ranked 39th. The Star Hall Master and Zhu Qing seemed to have ended their alliance long ago. Princess Li said, King Kuan has always been alone. Lei Jin, if I'm not wrong, this will be his last 10 days. He released the Mu God order twice in a row. It's impossible for him and Kuei Mo to form an alliance again. Lin Feng nodded. For the sake of the overall situation, Lei Jin and Kuei Mo should have sacrificed one of them, but they didn't. As the trial points decreased, the competition would become stronger. Humans were selfish, so it would be difficult for them to form an alliance. Except for the Star Hall Master and King Kuan, if we meet Lei Jin, Zhu Qing, and Kuei Mo, we can fight with them. Princess Li said. Lin Feng lightly nodded. Especially Kuei Mo. Even if it was one-on-one, he was confident that he could take him down. However, the main goal is still to find Wu Shan number 1 Tao realm. Lin Feng said. Sure. Princess Li was very confident. The 3 of them had a clear goal, including the direction to find Wu Shan number 1 Tao realm. That was the mechanical warriors and the guardian demon. They must be the key points. Princess Li raised her hand, and darkness appeared. The attack power of the 3rd level of the Annihilation Doctrine was simply terrifying. She could kill the guardian demon easily, even though it was the top broken curse demon, whose combat power was comparable to a strong practitioner on the earthly list. Bang! The guardian demon disappeared, but nothing happened. Princess Li was very sure that she didn't delay and continued to kill the next guardian demon. Lin Feng held the sinful black saber in his hand, and his whole body was filled with a murderous aura. He was instilled with the way of dark demon and practiced the Moxie's 3 heavy strikes in actual combat. These powerful mechanical warriors were the best opponents. They were durable and had no wisdom. The key is in the level of being possessed by the devil. Lin Feng vaguely understood the key of the Moxie's 3 heavy strikes. As his saber heart entered the 5th level, he had a deep understanding of the 1st level of the Moxie's 3 heavy strikes. He was trying to find the feeling. The heart must be immersed in the devil's doctrine. But it's dangerous. Lin Feng thought to himself. This kind of saber skill was equivalent to devouring the owner. If he was not careful, he would be affected by the saber intent. But its power should not be underestimated. First, he comprehended the saber heart, then practiced the saber skill. Now he could get twice the result with half the effort. With the 5th level of the saber heart, he could practice the 2nd strike of the Moxie's 3 heavy strikes. After practicing again and again, he gradually became familiar with the saber intent and power. Lin Feng continued to improve in the battle. It was calm, and they didn't encounter other warriors. Lin Feng and the other 2 killed a steady stream of mechanical warriors and guardians to explore the secret of Wushan number 1 Tao realm. The answer must be on the mechanical warriors and guardians. Lin Feng was very sure about Princess Li's speculation, because no matter Tao Realm number 2 or Tao Realm number 3, they were not hidden. They were like treasure chests in front of them, and they only needed a key to open them. And in the entire assembly stratum, the only key that could possibly exist was these mechanical warriors and guardians that were roaming all over the place. They should be preparing for the challenge of Wuxia number 3 Tao Realm in a few days. Princess Chong was as light as the wind and extremely ghostly. She had mastered the wind perfectly. No wonder she could grab the Great Yu Imperial Crystal under the nose of Luoshin. It's possible, Princess Li said. Soon it was the 111th day, and the challenge of Wuxia number 3 Tao Realm would start again. This time, the young man with the wind was not so lucky. He was going to face the real strong man on the heavenly list of Minghu. Boom! Lin Feng smashed the mechanical warrior with one saber. His saber skill was skillful, but it still lacked charm. The mechanical warrior turned into a pile of scrap iron, and nothing was left. Lin Feng was about to kill another mechanical warrior. Suddenly, his face changed. Princess Li and Princess Chong were stunned. But when they heard Lin Feng's anxious voice, they knew there was big trouble. The two girls followed Lin Feng through the teleportation portal. At this time, the strong Numa behind them made them frown at the same time. It was them. Whoosh! Lin Feng galloped through the teleportation portal. He was not running away, but buying time to think. The two Numas behind him were the Master of Star Hall and Zhu Qing. The worst result was that the two who seemed to be in harmony, but were at odds, would ally again. What should we do? Princess Li caught up with Lin Feng, who deliberately slowed down. Lin Feng's eyes flickered, and countless thoughts flashed in his mind. He said in a low voice, "Can you and Princess Chong stop the Master of Star Hall?" Princess Li's beautiful eyes flickered. "Yes, but we can't win." "It's enough." Lin Feng's right hand was shining, and the golden crown was magnificent. His eyes revealed absolute confidence and decisiveness. "Go to the next teleportation portal and stall the Master of Star Hall. I'll kill Zhu Qing." Chapter 1105. Lin Feng is mine. Zhu Qing roared with bloodshot eyes. "Up to you. But I want half of Lin Feng's Sea God token. If there is an odd number, the extra token belongs to me." The Star Hall Master wore a star helmet. His masculine face was adorned with a heroic appearance. His eyes were bright. "Star Hall Master, aren't you too greedy?" Zhu Qing said angrily. She also wanted the Sea God tokens of the two women of the Peerless Hall. She also wanted to get Lin Feng's Sea God token. "You can choose not to cooperate," the Star Hall Master said coldly. "Anyway, I can deal with the three of them alone." "You." Zhu Qing was livid with anger. Princess Li was right. Zhu Qing and the Star Hall Master had already drawn a clear line and were no longer allies. However, the Star Hall Master and Zhu Qing knew that Lin Feng and the other two had left the Forbidden Area at the same time. They acted together in the number 1 Forbidden Area. No one could hide it from each other. The three escaped fishes finally appeared. Who wouldn't covet them? King Kuan was embarrassed to take action, but the Star Hall Master wouldn't show mercy. Needless to say, Zhu Qing already hated Lin Feng to the core. The Star Hall Master raised her eyelashes. She vaguely felt something was wrong. She couldn't sense Lin Feng's aura, but she knew the movements of the two women of the Peerless Hall. Although she was chasing after them, the Star Hall Master had been keeping an eye on them. Warriors who could survive until now were definitely not good people. The more weak they looked, the more likely they were to fail miserably. She glanced at Zhu Qing. The moment the Star Hall Master entered the teleportation portal, her speed suddenly decreased. If there was any danger, she would let Zhu Qing go first. Zhu Qing, who was in a killing frenzy, didn't care about anything else. After waiting for 100 days, his hatred for Lin Feng had already gone crazy. At the teleportation portal, the moment Lin Feng arrived, he ambushed behind and asked the two women to slow down to attract attention. Now that his talent soul had reached the life-breaking stage, no one could lock onto his aura or sense his existence. Using the same trick again, Lin Feng was even more confident this time. Matero's crown shone with golden light on his head. Lin Feng always thought that it was too ostentatious, so he wore it like a bodhisattva. The golden light under his eyes shone brightly, and the pattern of waves rippled like a stream. Here it comes. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Distorted dark star barrier. Just as a figure appeared at the teleportation array, Lin Feng had already summoned the dark crooked star. He was very clear about who this figure was. The dark crooked star barrier was activated and immediately pulled him and Zhu Qing into an independent barrier space in order to separate Zhu Qing and the Star Hall Master. One-on-one, Lin Feng was confident. However, with the addition of the Star Hall Master, he would definitely lose. What? Zhu Qing was still in a rage when he suddenly felt the surrounding environment change. The distorted, dark energy shrouded him. But he was an expert ranked 18th on the Minhwa Heaven list after all. What kind of battle had Zhu Qing not experienced before? He reacted immediately. Two claws appeared with lightning. Zhu Qing immediately used the Thunder Origin and blasted the barrier on the ground. Insignificant skill, break for me. Zhu Qing shouted with confidence. If he couldn't even kill a mere Heaven Glimpse brat, then he would be the second strongest person in the Luotian Union in vain. In an instant, the thunder profound intent caused the dark crooked star barrier to shake violently. It was like the earth was cracking apart layer by layer. Although Zhu Qing was tall and mighty, he wasn't careless in battle. While using the Thunder Origin, he set up an airtight defense and didn't give Lin Feng any chance to launch a sneak attack. He had seen too many of such tricks. Zhu Qing revealed a disdainful smile. Immature brat, you want to trick me? Right at this moment, whoosh, a golden light descended from the sky. Before Zhu Qing could regain his composure, his entire body was enveloped by this golden light. It was an endlessly enchanting scene of spring. The gentle and comfortable feeling that came from the bottom of his heart was like a warm current that melted the ice and snow. An endlessly beautiful body came into his embrace, and in a split second, the boundless evil aura disappeared. Quantero, illusory realm. The Nemo planet's top illusory realm appeared at this moment. Lin Feng might only have the first aperture of the Heaven Glimpse realm, but the Quantero crown was a Nebula-class treasure after all. The power that erupted from it wasn't something that ordinary life-breaking experts could withstand. The illusory realm's power was like a flood, wave after wave of impact. Even if Zhu Qing's strength was monstrous, he could only succumb. The Quantero illusory realm had many restrictions. For example, it was ineffective against women and had a weaker effect on Heaven Glimpse realm cultivators and martial artists with strong willpower. However, Zhu Qing wasn't included. On the other side, the Star Hall Master who appeared later had already fought with the two women of the Peerless Hall. Princess Li used all her strength. Ranked 86th on the Minhwa list, she finally used all her strength. Especially the Way of Annihilation at the third level of cultivation, its power was comparable to that of the experts on the heavenly list. And her strongest point was the perfect heavenly level holy treasure, Net of Mist. It could attack or retreat. Together with Princess Chang's ghostly figure, it had already stalled the Star Hall Master. Princess Li and Princess Chang couldn't figure out Lin Feng's strength. They only knew that he should have the combat power of the Minwu Earth list, and the probability of winning against Zhu Qing was not high. But, inexplicably, they believed in Lin Feng. They didn't know where the confidence came from and when the trust was born, but they were willing to try. What a strong saint power. Although the Star Hall Master was fighting with the two women, he had been paying attention to the battle between Lin Feng and Zhu Qing. However, he couldn't sense it clearly because of the Dark Ward. In addition, the two women had great strength, so it was hard for the Star Hall Master to pay attention to the other side. The Star Hall Master was very surprised by Lin Feng's strength, but she still didn't think that Zhu Qing would lose. The gap between the two's combat power was too big. On the contrary, she was more shocked by Princess Li's strength. Wanli, the Star Hall Master's eyes lit up and her hands changed rapidly. The bright starlight suddenly fell. She was the Star Hall Master. What the Star Hall Master didn't know was that Zhu Qing had completely fallen. His willpower was being obliterated bit by bit. Although Zhu Qing knew that this was an illusion and he had experienced countless illusions, he had never been like this. The surging power, the lost charm, and the tender fairies had obliterated his remaining willpower again and again. He knew that it was an illusion, but he still fell. In this contest of strength and willpower, Lin Feng had the absolute upper hand. However, at this moment, he was actually an arrow at the end of its flight. Too fast. After the real battle, Lin Feng found another weakness of Quantero's crown. It wasn't a weakness, but it consumed a lot of real Dragon Saint power. In fact, if he fought with the strength of a galaxy state, the consumption wouldn't be much. However, he was only a star level now. Even so, it was enough. Quantero's crown proved that it was a real galaxy state treasure. Lin Feng also proved his current absolute combat power, boom, as the real Dragon Saint power kept gushing out. Zhu Qing's willpower finally collapsed, and he fell into Quantero's illusion. Bang! Zhu Qing's figure turned into light spots and disappeared. The Mu God token was suspended in the air. Chapter 1106. Aurora of the Stars. Illusory body of Yen Luo. The Master of the Star Hall and Princess Li were fighting fiercely. In terms of absolute strength, the Master of the Star Hall was obviously stronger. She had established an advantage without using any treasures. However, part of her attention was on Zhu Qing and Lin Feng, and the other part was on guard against Princess Qiong's illusory attack. Princess Li was barely on par with her. Nevertheless, Princess Li's strength was praiseworthy. The third level of the Way of Annihilation. Wan Qing has done an excellent job in cultivating her successor. There was a hint of appreciation in the Master of the Star Hall's eyes. Almost all the strong people on the divine list were male, except for her, the peerless Empress, and Granny Yin. But now, there was one more. Yuan Li. Yuan Qing also gave her a net of smoke. The aurora of the Master of the Star Hall shone in her hands. There were only a few perfect holy treasures of the heaven rank. Even the strong people on the divine list might not have them. So, when Qi Yu exchanged the dark curved star for the great Yu imperial crystal, it caused a sensation. If a strong person of the breaking life period could give full play to the power of a perfect holy treasure of the heaven rank, it was quite terrifying. Princess Li was like that. If I hadn't entered the Tao realm of Wu God, I would have less than 30% chance to kill her. The Master of the Star Hall looked calm. Although she was fighting against two, she was like the North Star in the sky. Absolute strength brought about absolute confidence and momentum. If she was willing to pay a little price, she was 80% sure that she could kill Princess Li and Princess Qiong. But it was not necessary now. The two girls of the peerless Empress were like prey to her. She could kill them at any time. It was not worthwhile to get hurt because of this. Not to mention Zhu Qing, King Kuan, Lei Jin, and Kuei Do were also not to be underestimated. While she was thinking, the Master of the Star Hall's expression suddenly changed. The dark boundary not far away disappeared instantly. Zhu Qing's breath, it was gone. On the contrary, an undetectable breath was hidden in the dark like a poisonous snake, revealing the intention of assassination. How is this possible? The Master of the Star Hall never thought that Zhu Qing would be defeated by Lin Feng, and be defeated so quickly. While she was in shock, Princess Li's figure was divided into three. Clouds came and shrouded in darkness. Yen Luo Black Prison. Princess Li displayed the Tao of Annihilation. The essence of the Tao, combined with the perfect holy treasure of heaven, rank burst out a powerful power. The Star Hall Master was shocked. Princess Chong, who was not far away, was also ready to fight. In addition, Lin Feng, who had killed a giant with unfathomable strength, swoosh. Turning into an aurora, the Star Hall Master left the battlefield in an instant. The Stellar Hall Master was proficient in the Great Tao of Light and was not at a disadvantage in terms of speed. She had been on guard all along. She was not stupid enough to leave quickly to preserve her strength in a 1-on-3 fight. To her, Giant's loss didn't affect her at all. In the first place, she and Zhu Qing were not allies. She's gone. Princess Luo's chest heaved slightly, her heart still palpitating. That's right. She's even stronger than Mother. Princess Li pursed her lips. Her eyes were bright. They wouldn't catch up with the master of Star Hall, and they couldn't catch up with him at all. The super powerhouse ranked 10th on the Minwa Heaven list. They couldn't defeat him now. It was only after they had exchanged blows that they realized the Star Hall master's unfathomable strength. Wow! A figure appeared, which attracted the beautiful eyes of Princess Li and Princess Chong. They were surprised and surprised. Lin Feng, who had been their ally for a long time, was also unfathomable to them. He was just in the Heaven Glimpse realm. Child Lin, you're so powerful. Princess Luo was very happy. I didn't expect that Child Lin could really kill Giant. Princess Li smiled sweetly. She had made the decision under the crisis before. In fact, she had been uneasy and unsure. However, she had no choice at that time when she faced two super powerhouses. Lin Feng smiled. It's you two who are powerful. You can hold the Star Hall Master back. He could kill Giant by relying on the Quantero crown. However, the strength of the two girls was really beyond his expectation. Especially Princess Li. She was the real fighting force on the Minwa Heaven list. She didn't use all her strength. Princess Li said softly, "Really, second sister?" Princess Luo was surprised. Princess Li nodded slightly. "Maybe we can barely compete with her by combining the strength of the three of us. She's so powerful." Princess Luo said admiringly. Lin Feng smiled and let it pass. In fact, Princess Li was wrong about one thing. Even with her help, it was impossible to compete with the Star Hall Master. Otherwise, she would have taken action just now. Quantero's illusion was ineffective on women. Without his strongest trump card, his fighting force was only on the Minwu Earth list, which was the same as Princess Luo. Therefore, he only released murderous intent faintly to give the Star Hall Master psychological pressure. Both the Star Hall Master and King Tianyao were too cautious. They had an absolute advantage in the Minwu God assembly level and wouldn't take risks easily. What the Star Hall Master didn't know was that she had missed an excellent opportunity to advance. If she killed him, she could get 7 Minwu God tokens, one of which was obtained by killing Giant. Sometimes it's not a good thing to be too conservative. Lin Feng said in his heart. Lin Feng, Princess Luo, and Princess Luo survived. But at the same time, they made a name for themselves after leaving the Forbidden Area. The death of Giant alerted Lei Jin, Kuei Do, and King Kuan. Especially Lei Jin, who was at the end of his rope and had only 10 days left. His chance of survival was getting smaller and smaller. Giant's ranking on the Minwu Earth list was higher than his. If Lin Feng, Princess Luo, and Princess Luo could kill Giant, they could also kill him. His only chance was to find Godwu number 1, but his luck ran out. Lei Jin first met the aggressive King Kuan and escaped with injuries. Then he met Lin Feng, Princess Luo, and Princess Luo. Facing Lin Feng's Quantero's illusion, Lei Jin was no better than Giant. This time, there were also Princess Li and Princess Luo. No. Lei Jin's eyes were bloodshot. He was extremely unwilling. Leaving behind 1 Minwa God token, Lei Jin was eliminated. The situation was getting clearer. The last 8 people, the 3 people who would advance would be determined from the 8 people. Lin Feng, Princess Luo, and Princess Luo were unscrupulous at this moment. King Tianyao and the young man were in the God Wu Dao realm. The remaining Star Hall Master and King Kuan were sworn enemies. No matter who Kuei Do teamed up with, they could fight, including the Star Hall Master. Hua, the Star Hall Master, turned into an aurora and disappeared in front of them. Lin Feng, Princess Luo, and Princess Luo looked at each other and smiled. Although they didn't have the confidence to kill the Star Hall Master, if they didn't chase after him, it would arouse his suspicion. Anyway, their speed wasn't as fast as the Star Hall Master. Everyone was just pretending to scare him. They only had one goal, which was Godwu number 1. Soon, it was the 111th day. Godwu number 3 attracted another challenge and a change of owner. Challenger number 3-1. You have 30 days of control over Godwu number 3. Chapter 1107. Master of Starry Hall. Princess Chong murmured. Lin Feng and Princess Li looked at each other and knew that the Master of the Star Hall, who had entered the Tao realm number 2 of Wushan, entered the Tao realm number 3 of Huashan. His purpose was self-evident. He wanted to enhance his combat capability. For this reason, he didn't hesitate to spend a few trial points. Mother once mentioned that Master of Starry Hall was on par with her in strength, Princess Li said. But now, she has completely surpassed him. Lin Feng listened. With 7 Wu Shan tokens in hand, he was very close to advancing. But it was meaningless. With his current strength, even if he advanced and left the assembly level of Wushan Taoist Rite, he would only be able to accompany the Crown Prince when facing Luo Shen, Li Mu Bai, and Shiri. Either he didn't advance, or he had to advance. First of all, he had to be strong enough. Wushan number 1 Tao Realm. Lin Feng's thought was very clear. He continued to search, but there was still no news of Wushan number 1 Tao Realm. On the 112th day, Kuei Mo was eliminated. It was unknown whether he was killed by King Kuan or the young man with wind. The young man with wind cultivated in Wushan number 3 Tao Realm for 60 days. His strength was unfathomable now, but he was still inferior to King Tianyao and Master of Starry Hall. The scale of advancement was tilted towards King Tianyao and Master of Starry Hall. They occupied Wushan number 1 Tao Realm with absolute strength, which meant that they occupied 2 spots for advancement, leaving only 1 spot for other warriors. Who could stand out? On the 115th day, Lin Feng and the other 2 finally met King Kuan, a super strong warrior ranked 13th on the divine list of Minwu. He had a murderous aura and strong strength. He was worthy of being a hero of the generation. His domineering eyes had rejected the alliance carelessly. Now it was a small world. I won't be merciful, King Kuan said proudly. So will we, Princess Li smiled. King Kuan was fearless when it was 1 against 3. In his opinion, except for Princess Li, Princess Chong and Lin Feng were just SOSO. He didn't have many trial points left. Although he didn't want to fight Princess Li and Princess Chong, he had no other choice in order to advance. Moreover, he wouldn't really die. But King Kuan was wrong, very wrong. At the moment when he fought with Princess Li, he looked serious. Princess Li's strength was stronger than he imagined. Coupled with Princess Chong's ghostly body movements, it was not easy for him to win. He went all out and broke out the combat power of King Kuan. However, what he didn't know was that Lin Feng, who he had always looked down on, had given him the heaviest blow at this moment. Pong! Lin Feng let out a muffled groan as his innate spirit shook violently. Wiping away the blood at the corner of his mouth, the golden light faded a little. King Kuan's willpower was quite strong. Even though he was in Quantero's illusion, he resisted stubbornly until Lin Feng's true Dragon Saint power was exhausted. He was the first warrior to survive Fantello's illusion. If it had been a one-on-one battle, Lin Feng would have probably fled, but now it was 3 against 1. Not to mention Princess Li. Even Princess Chong could defeat Lord Kuan, who was in a trance and had his soul severely injured. 2 tokens. Lord Kuan was eliminated and left 2 Huashan tokens. Lin Feng and Princess Li had always distributed them evenly, 1 for each of them. Princess Chong was not included because Princess Chong was only an assistant. Since the beginning of the alliance, everyone had a tacit understanding. Lin Feng provided the trial points, and Princess Chong provided the combat power. Because of Princess Shui's help, Lin Feng's group of 3 was able to survive the battle between the Star Hall Master and Zhu Qing. After that, they were able to cut through all obstacles and reap great rewards. It could be said that Princess Chong had completed her task perfectly. Now, she only had 2 trial points left. Only 6 out of 8 warriors were left, including the 3 of them, King Tianyao, the Master of Star Hall, and the young man with the surname of Wind. You get the trial points, and I get the Quantero token. Princess Li said. Okay. Lin Feng looked at Princess Chong, who smiled softly. During this period of time, they had become friends who trusted each other sincerely. He was reluctant to leave, but the actual combat trial had to continue. He had to give up something to gain something. Come on, second sister, child Lin, you must advance. Princess Chong smiled brightly. On the 120th day, The actual combat trial gradually entered the final stage. You really don't want the trial points? Lin Feng looked at Princess Li, who shook her head gently and smiled. I have 6 trial points. Whether I can advance or not depends on my luck. Child Lin, you have 21 trial points, right? Lin Feng nodded. 1 trial point was deducted on the 120th day. Now, his biggest advantage was the trial points. With enough trial points, he could ensure that he could survive until the end. However, he was not sure about the specific rules of the actual combat trial. How was the distribution of the Quantero token now? Lin Feng asked. Princess Li's beautiful eyes sparkled. Child Lin, you should have a most. You have 8 now. Lin Feng nodded. He did not hide it from Princess Li. He got 2 from Hua Chu-Chu, 1 from Xiang Ji-Chuan, 1 from Su Qianjian, 1 from Koei Nandu, 1 from Ju Qing, 1 from King Kuan, and 1 from himself. Now, he had 8 trial points in total. He was only 1 step away from advancing. However, it was not easy to take this step. Next are King Tianyao and Star Hall Master. Both of them should have more than 5 trial points. King Tianyao may have more, but less than 9, Princess Li said. Lin Feng nodded. When someone advanced, the artificial intelligence should remind him. Next is me. Currently, I have 4 trial points. Princess Li smiled. Challenger number 11 should have the least. No more than 4 trial points. Lin Feng nodded. He agreed with Princess Li's analysis. She was very good at analyzing the situation. Her speculation should not be far from the truth. Lin Feng pursed his lips and frowned slightly. The rest were not easy to deal with. Needless to say, King Tianyao had the experience of fighting with King Kuan. Lin Feng knew clearly that the possibility of winning against King Tianyao was less than 10%, even if he and Princess Li joined hands. Moreover, could he really attack King Tianyao? No matter what, they belonged to the Glory Alliance. King Tianyao had never attacked him. Next was Star Hall Master. She was the most troublesome one. Her strength was already quite terrifying. She had entered the realm of Wu Shundao consecutively. Moreover, Meta Luo's illusion was ineffective on women. Even if he and Princess Li joined hands, they would be defeated, not to mention one-on-one. If he wanted to advance, the only one left was the Youth of Wind. But Princess Li, just as Lin Feng was pondering, his vision suddenly blurred. A copper-colored sea god token flashed and landed in front of him. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the beauty in front of him. Her wise eyes and bright smile gave people a sense of trust that was like a spring breeze, forming a faint friendship. Take this and advance, Princess Li said softly. Chapter 1108. A warm current flowed through Lin Feng's heart. It had been 4 months since they had known each other and formed an alliance. He and the 2 girls of the Peerless Hall were friends and comrades in arms, but they were also competitors. King Tianyao and the Master of Star Hall kept 2 places for advancement, and the remaining one was crucial. If he advanced, it meant that Princess Li would be eliminated, but she still did it. 1 Mu token is neither too much nor too little for me, but it's very useful for you. Princess Li said, in fact, you should know that the possibility of me advancing is small, but you are different. You're only 1 step away from the divine realm of you Emperor. At present, Princess Li only had 4 Mu tokens, so the chance of advancing was very slim. This was because most of the sea god tokens were in the hands of Lin Feng, King Tianyao, and the Starry Hall Master. If she wanted to advance, she would have to kill one of the 3. There was also the young man with the wind. The 2 of them together did not even have 9 sea god tokens. This is my token. When I enter the divine realm of you Emperor and give it to my sister, she will understand. My sister's strength is not worse than mine. You will be a strong force if you join forces. Princess Li handed over her ring, but it was declined by Lin Feng. Don't give up until the end, Lin Feng said. Princess Li shook her head and said, I understand your intention, but it's the safest thing to do now. Besides, even if I have 1 less Mu token, I still have the chance to advance. Lin Feng saw through her smile. Princess Li was in the same situation as him. The situation was very delicate. They were tied together like a hemp rope, and no one dared to move. But once they let go, they would be devoured by the master of Star Hall. Since we are in an alliance, we should finish what we started and advance and retreat together. Especially now, we haven't reached the point of revealing our true intentions. Lin Feng clenched Princess Li's hand, which was holding the Mu token, into a fist and pushed it back. Princess Li's pretty face flushed, and she lowered her head subconsciously. Actually, there's another way. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. Princess Li raised her head in surprise. The Tao realm of Wu God. Once the Wu God Tao realm was opened, its location was no longer a secret. It was not hidden, but completely exposed. Lin Feng and Princess Li set foot in this area, but they didn't see the young man of wind. He wouldn't come here. King Tianyao was in the Tao realm at Wu Shunhao. Who would dare to challenge him? Today is the last day of Dao. What will happen if no one challenges me? Lin Feng asked. I don't know. Princess Li shook her head gently. But there are only two possibilities. One is to continue to possess him or to be kicked out. Lin Feng smiled. We'll know the answer very soon. 20 days had passed since King Tianyao entered divine Wu's Dao realm. Another cycle ended. Do you think he will come out? Princess Li asked curiously. Half and half, Lin Feng said. King Tianyao was different from him. His ambition was much greater, and it was not limited to this small, desolate god training ground. Moreover, his strength had reached the extreme. It was not easy to improve. Although the Wu God Dao realm was magical, it might only be effective for King Tianyao the first time he entered. After that, it would gradually weaken. He could stay in divine Wu's Dao realm and continue to improve his strength, but there were fewer and fewer desolate god tokens outside. It was better be safe than sorry. With King Tianyao's cautious character, he would definitely not take risks. He would probably collect 9 desolate god tokens first to ensure the possibility of advancement. Princess Li nodded. She understood Lin Feng's intention. She looked at the mysterious young man with her wise eyes, and there was a ripple in her heart. Princess Li pursed her lips. She actually wanted to try it. If there was a possibility of advancement, who would be willing to give it up? The two waited patiently. Time passed slowly, and it was the 11th day. Suddenly, Lin Feng and Princess Li's eyes lit up. At the same time, the artificial intelligence's voice sounded. A light flashed in front of them, and a figure stepped out. He was not as domineering as King Kun, nor was he as sharp as the master of Star Hall. Instead, he was as calm as the sky and had a hidden brilliance. No one is challenging the Wu God Dao realm. Challenger number 1 has chosen to give up control. Other challengers are free to enter. Lin Feng looked at King Tianyao, and the latter also looked at him with his sharp eyes. He was slightly surprised, but his expression returned to normal. You can enter now, King Tianyao said to Lin Feng. You only need to spend 1 trial point. This place will be very helpful to you. After that, King Tianyao did not say anything else. He brushed past Meng Qi and was about to leave. From the beginning to the end, King Tianyao did not have any killing intent. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Although King Tianyao was domineering and arrogant, he still had the demeanor of an expert. Let's cooperate. Lin Feng said directly to King Tianyao's back. The latter suddenly stopped and did not turn around. He said in a low voice, Give me a reason, because I will soon become the 5th king of the Glory Alliance. Lin Feng knew King Tianyao's personality very well. He was amenable to persuasion, but not coercion. Even if it was for the sake of benefits, he might not accept an alliance. He had his own pride. With the suppression of absolute strength, there was a 90% chance that King Tianyao would be able to collect the 9 divine sea tokens. However, it would be different if there was a relationship. King Tianyao was the leader of the Glory Alliance. His strength was equivalent to the strength of the Glory Alliance. Although their personalities were somewhat conflicting, they were still on the same side. As expected, King Tianyao turned his head and asked with sparkling eyes, How do you want me to help you? Lin Feng smiled. He knew that King Tianyao had already stood up. Eliminate the Star Hall Master and Challenger number 11. The three of us will advance and enter the Emperor Divine Realm, Lin Feng said. Wow, not only King Tian Yao, but Princess Li's beautiful eyes were also shining. Although King Tian Yao didn't like Princess Li, he accepted it for the sake of Lin Feng. In fact, he also knew that Lin Feng's proposal was beneficial to him. Firstly, he was now a general without an army. After advancing to the Emperor Divine Realm, he would have to face Luo and Li Mubai. Both of them were stronger than him. He was no longer as dominant as he was in the Wansha Training Hall. Moreover, the Star Hall Master was not to be trifled with. It was better to eliminate her here than to meet her again in the Emperor Divine Realm. After entering the Wu God Dao realm consecutively, the Star Hall Master's strength had improved greatly. In the end, King Tian Yao appreciated the wisdom of Lin Feng and Princess Li. The fact that they could survive until now with such weak strength was enough to explain everything. Although he didn't want to admit it, King Tian Yao knew that he had a lot of good cards in the Wanshan Training Hall. It was because of his lack of planning that they were wiped out, and he almost lost his life. The strong joined forces. There were only 5 people left. Lin Feng and the other 2 took the lead to join forces. They basically controlled the whole situation. They had an absolute advantage. You decide. I'll cooperate with you, King Tian Yao said in a deep voice. As for Lin Feng, he could still barely trust him. Chapter 1109. A genius remembers love in 1 second. I will provide you with wonderful novels to read. Wuxia number 1, Tao Realm, finally appeared. It's here. Lin Feng held the black round crystal chip in his hand. The black light on the chip had the function of guiding the way. He found Wuxia number 1, Tao Realm, effortlessly and inserted the chip into the seemingly ordinary hole. Suddenly, the earth shook and the surrounding light gathered. Rumble, Wuxia number 1 Dao Realm appeared, shooting out from the ground like bamboo shoots. Lin Feng's heart stirred, and he smiled. He and Princess Li had been looking for it. Finally, their efforts paid off. Of course, without King Tianyao's help, they couldn't have gotten the key to open Wuxia number 1 Tao Realm. Lin Feng wasn't a greedy person. In the process of finding Wuxia number 1 Tao Realm, it was King Tianyao who really contributed. He wouldn't forget. You go in first, King Tianyao, Lin Feng said. King Tianyao seemed to be a little surprised. He looked at Lin Feng and said, don't be modest. It doesn't make any difference whether you enter early or late. You go first. I'll go to Wuxia number 3 Tao Realm. On the 140th day. Tomorrow, Wuxia number 2 and Wuxia number 3 Tao Realm would reach the end of a cycle at the same time. Okay, then I'll see you in 30 days. Lin Feng didn't decline. The cycle of Wuxia number 3 Tao Realm was 30 days. King Tianyao nodded and left. Lin Feng entered Wuxia number 1 Tao Realm. Challenger number 23 has 10 days of control over Wuxia number 1 Tao Realm. The rest of the warriors can issue a challenge on the 11th day. Everyone received this message. The control of Wuxia number 1 Tao Realm was shorter than that of Wuxia number 2 Tao Realm. It was only 10 days. But this also meant that Wuxia number 1 Tao Realm was very precious. It had the best effect among the 3 Tao Realms. Lin Feng stepped into it. It was different from what he imagined. There was nothing in Wuxia number 1 Tao Realm. It was as if he had entered a palace room. There was only a clear spring in the room. A hazy luster spread over the clear spring. He couldn't even feel the energy composition of the spring with his talent soul. It was very strange. Holy spring, Lin Feng murmured. This was the holy spring that King Tianyao had mentioned. It was exactly the same as Wuxia number 2's description. Lin Feng heard the artificial intelligence's voice. He did not delay and immediately entered the sacred spring. He only had 10 days. Since Wuxia number 3 had been occupied by King Tianyao, he was certain that the Stellar Hall Master would come and challenge him. Hiss! The instant he entered, Lin Feng's pupils dilated. His entire body shook violently. The holy spring water surged into his body, causing the body of light and darkness to erupt involuntarily. It was like the key that unlocked the password of his body. Divine runes appeared on his body, like ancient imprints that contained the secrets of his bloodline. A domineering, black-haired giant appeared in front of him, as if he had come alive. Howl! The deafening roar was like thunder. Love, go little say, this is... Lin Feng's heartbeat quickened. This was the first time he vaguely sensed the black-haired giant's emotions. Although it was just a roar, it hid a bone-chilling arrogance that overlooked all living things. The roar was filled with anger and unwillingness, as if it was protesting against the heavens. In an instant, endless energy erupted from his body and gathered in his entire body. The divine runes on his body gradually changed. They became clearer and more precise, and the energy contained within them became stronger. Lin Feng felt his bones strengthening, his body transforming, his meridians becoming tougher, and his cells transforming. This process was like the transformation of a life form. Is it stimulating my potential in all aspects? Lin Feng recalled what King Tianyao had said. Wuxia No. 2's Dao realm was the same. Not only his body, but even the origin star realm was shaking continuously. His spiritual force gradually increased. The Taiyu star and the true dragon star were absorbing the energy of the holy spring. This was not spring water, but a strange mixed energy that was filled with technological elements. Galactic-level technology is truly breathtaking. Lin Feng sighed in awe. With his current level of knowledge, he still couldn't understand such a heaven-defying technological ability, but this didn't stop him from absorbing the energy of the holy spring. His already powerful body became even stronger. The most unexpected thing was the Taiyu star and the true dragon star. In the path of cultivation, once the Taiyu star and the true dragon star were formed, they couldn't be changed. But this wasn't the case. Right now, the grades of the two were increasing bit by bit. It's not that they can't be changed, but the level of a Nemo star's power is too low. Lin Feng thought. If he went through the Grand Nirvana and created the origin star realm, the grades of the Taiyu star and the true dragon star would increase. The holy spring was the same. This holy spring was refined from an unknown energy and had a miraculous effect. Lin Feng closed his eyes and soon immersed himself in it. 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, time passed day by day. Lin Feng deeply felt his improvement. Just as King Tianyao said, the improvement came from all aspects. The strengthening of his body had reached a bottleneck. The real limit was the maximum he could reach. Just like the light heart and dark heart, one's strength determined one's body. This holy spring is too amazing. Lin Feng's heart trembled. In just 5 days, he had undergone great changes. The first to bear the brunt was the true dragon star. Unlike the high-grade Taiyu star, the true dragon star didn't fuse with 2 types of energy. Instead, it underwent a single transformation. Therefore, its grade wasn't high. However, under the nourishment of the holy spring, the true dragon star had increased by 2 grades in 5 days. It was close to the Taiyu star. If I fight in the real world now, I can instantly kill the Kuan King. Lin Feng was very confident. The improvement of the true dragon star caused the power of his talent soul to increase again. However, what was truly powerful was the Taiyu star, which had already fused with 3 types of energy, the improvement of his light and darkness body, and his ability to sense light and darkness. Soon, the Taiyu star is about to break through the barrier. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. Boom! As if a barrier had been broken, the sudden change of the Taiyu star caused Lin Feng's origin star realm to undergo great changes. The Taiyu star, which had already reached its limit, was now of a higher grade. He couldn't suppress the energy in his body anymore. The Taiyu star spun rapidly like a giant top, crazily absorbing the holy spring's energy. His body wanted to transform again, but couldn't advance any further. The light heart and dark heart wanted to expand again, but they were limited by the origin star realm. It was very uncomfortable. It was as if they were desperately trying to advance, but they were firmly blocked by a huge force. What was it? Lin Feng gritted his teeth. The Taiyu star shone brightly. In an instant, his entire body rumbled, and everything was released. Whoosh! It was as if a flood had broken through a dam. Surging energy filled his body. His body, which had already reached its limit, transformed again. The origin star realm shook violently. At the same time, it crossed that barrier. The light heart and dark heart shone brightly. Everything changed in this instant. It was a perfect transformation. Lin Feng had finally reached the life-breaking stage. Chapter 11:10. The light and darkness body erupted, and his potential was constantly being excavated. Reaching the life-breaking stage was just the beginning. The origin star realm shook continuously, and the mental range kept expanding. After reaching the life-breaking stage, one's life level was already increasing. It was like adding oil to the fire. 90,000, 95,000, 98,000. Bang. The moment the mental range of the origin star realm exceeded 100,000, Lin Feng felt as if his heart was about to jump out. The entire origin star realm shook violently. Streams of energy disappeared instantly, but more powerful energy poured in, crazily surging. The energy of the Holy Spring. Lin Feng was shocked. The origin star realm absorbed the energy of the Holy Spring and turned it into the source of the expansion of the new origin star realm. It was like the pillars supporting the origin star realm had been changed from copper to gold. The original restrictions of the origin star realm no longer existed. In an instant, the light and dark hearts expanded rapidly. The size of the light and dark hearts depended on the level of the origin star realm. The higher the level of the origin star realm, the bigger the light and dark hearts. It was the same for the thunder hearts. Endless energy poured in, causing the heart of the origin to change rapidly. The transformation that would have taken months was now 10% complete. From 1,000 times to 2,000 times to 3,000 times, it kept increasing. To improve the origin star realm, the first is the bloodline, the second is the life level, and the third is the cultivation of the heart and the comprehension of the Tao. Lin Feng looked at the many refined divine patterns on his body. The light and darkness body was still maintained. Origin star realm, level 4. No one on planet Nemo had ever reached level 4. Normally, after a life-breaking stage expert broke through, his mental range would exceed 10,000 and reach level 3. Many martial artists had a good comprehension of the Tao. After the third bloodline awakening, their mental range could exceed 30,000, but it was only about 50,000 at most. From 50,000 to 100,000 was very long. What a terrifying Holy Spring. Lin Feng sighed. In fact, the secret of the Holy Spring was very clear. It was a pool that could stimulate one's potential. What was the potential of humans? Bloodline. Every human, including those on planet Nemo, had an ancient bloodline. They were the first generation of humans that had been incomparably glorious. It's not the fourth bloodline awakening. Instead, it's a process of transforming and refining one's bloodline. Lin Feng thought to himself. Originally, the bloodline in his body was hidden very deeply. Although he had awakened it, he could only use a small part of it. But now he could use all of it. The stronger the bloodline, the greater the benefits. However, every human's potential is limited. Just like what King Tianyao said, soaking in the Holy Spring would not have much effect when one's potential is almost fully excavated. On the 6th day, he reached the second stage of life-breaking stage. On the 7th day, he reached the third stage of life-breaking stage. On the 10th day, he reached the fourth level of life-breaking stage. The energy of the Holy Spring was endless. It was not an exaggeration to say that the third awakening of the light and darkness body could be considered the strongest bloodline on planet Nemo. Lin Feng's improvement was impressive. It could even be considered a leap. In just a few days, he had reached the fourth stage of life-breaking stage. The most terrifying thing was the origin star realm. The fourth rank origin star realm could crush every life-breaking expert. Even if other experts comprehended the light, dark, and thunder grandaos, they would only be 1,000 times stronger. But Lin Feng, his light heart and dark heart were 10,000 times stronger. The origin energy was huge and terrifying. The amount of origin energy that others could unleash, Lin Feng could unleash 10 times the amount. Not only that, Lin Feng could clearly sense the origin sea. It was close at hand, and he could touch it with a thought. The light origin sea and dark origin sea were on his left and right respectively. His understanding of the two types of heaven and earth energy had increased by more than 10 times. He could clearly sense the origin energy in Grand Daos. The third awakening of the light and darkness body had reached perfection. This is the true light and darkness body. Lin Feng was very satisfied. The bloodline was like the source, increasing all his strength. Just like what King Tian Yao said, this was a comprehensive improvement. His combat strength had increased by more than one level. It had completely surpassed the previous level. No wonder the Wind Youth was only close to the Earth list before. But after cultivating for 30 days in the Wu Shandao realm, he could get close to the Sky list. Lin Feng smiled. After trying out, he knew the secret. Right now, his combat strength was not only close to the Sky list. It could even be said that he had truly entered the Sky list. Now, even if I fight with a giant, I am confident that I can win. Lin Feng was full of confidence. The improvement of his strength had brought him endless energy. But he was also clear about his current weakness, the comprehension of Grand Daos. Every strong person on the Sky list had at least comprehended the third level of Grand Daos. The third level of Grand Daos was far more powerful than the second level. The difference could be seen from Princess Li. Her combat strength had soared from the Earth list to the Sky list. But this weakness could be overcome by him soon, and it would only be stronger. The light and darkness body stimulated by the Holy Spring has the same effect as the primary Yu Clan Divine Medicine. Lin Feng smiled. Now his 6 great Daos of light had not only crossed the second level easily. They were all around 50% of the second level. Of course, his light speed Dao, which was originally at the second level, was stronger now, and his divine light Dao, which was already at the third level, had already broken through the Xian Dao. The cultivation of Grand Daos is also dependent on the origin star realm. Lin Feng was completely sure. In fact, it was very simple. The size of the origin star realm depended on the size of the heart of light and heart of darkness. The more Grand Daos of light one comprehended, the more energy the heart of light would have. The origin star realm could only contain 3 levels of Grand Daos of light at the third level. Now, the origin star realm, which was at the 4th level, could naturally contain more than half of the 6 great Daos of darkness. Lin Feng was very satisfied. What did this mean? He still had 5 bottles of primary Yu Clan Divine Medicine. Each bottle could increase his cultivation by 10%. 5 bottles would increase his cultivation by 50%. In other words, as long as he consumed all 5 bottles of primary Yu Clan Divine Medicine, he would be proficient in all 6 great Daos of darkness and reach the 3rd level. How terrifying was that? With the profound meaning, even if I encounter the Starhole Master, I will be able to fight him. Lin Feng thought to himself. Now, he only needed time. On the 151st day, 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Feng's control of Wushan No. 1 Dao State had also ended. Trial Challenger No. 2 has issued a challenge to you. Please choose if you want to accept. The artificial intelligence's voice sounded. Lin Feng was not surprised. He had already guessed that the Star Hall Master would come. It should be referring to Wushan No. 1 Dao Realm. No trial challenger would miss it. I forfeit. Lin Feng was very wise. Now, he was still not a match for the Star Hall Master. There was no need for her to see the improvement and changes in his strength. Wait. Soon, I will defeat you face to face. Lin Feng's eyes were clear as he stepped out. Chapter 11:11. Well, he didn't challenge Princess Li? Lin Feng was quite surprised. He thought that after Wushan No. 2 reached the Tao realm 10 days ago, the number 11 young man of wind would challenge Princess Li. After all, his strength was comparable to that of Zhu Qing. Princess Li only ranked 86th on the Minwa list. It was reasonable to say that the young man of wind would not miss such a good opportunity, but he didn't. Princess Li didn't come out either. She continued to practice in Wushan No. 2 Tao realm. Princess Li's potential is higher than that of King Tian Yao and Master of Star Hall. Lin Feng said. It didn't mean that the future Princess Li would be stronger than King Tian Yao and the Master of Star Hall. It was just that King Tian Yao and the Master of Star Hall had reached the limit of breaking Fate Realm, and their potentials had been mostly stimulated, but Princess Li hadn't, especially the bloodline. In addition to refining and excavating the power of bloodline, the Holy Spring also has the function of strengthening the concentration of bloodline. Lin Feng was very clear that the third bloodline awakening was too far away. But Princess Li, who had the second bloodline awakening, was different. She was likely to take this opportunity to complete the third bloodline awakening. He waited patiently. At present, the secrets of the actual combat trial were almost unearthed. In addition to consolidating the current strength, Lin Feng had been thinking about what to do next. To be precise, how to make the three of them advance at the same time. It was easy to make two of them advance, but it was not easy to make the three of them advance at the same time. The alliance of the three of them was not very stable. King Tian Yao did it for his own strength rather than for Lin Feng and Princess Li. Moreover, their strengths were not equal. The safest way was naturally for Lin Feng and Princess Li to advance first. But King Tian Yao would never agree. With his prudence, he would not take such a big risk. Princess Li would be willing to stay behind, but the possibility of her advancing was not high. She would probably be eliminated. In any case, as the middle point of the three of them, Lin Feng had to take this responsibility, and he had the most points of the actual combat trial. 10 days passed quickly. On the 161st day of the actual combat trial, Lin Feng still hadn't seen the Wind Youth number 11. He didn't know what the Wind Youth was up to. Outside the dojo, Lin Feng waited for the time limit to end. The voice of the artificial intelligence sounded clearly, and a figure slowly appeared in front of him. It was Princess Li. Wow, Lin Feng's beautiful eyes flashed. Princess Li appeared in front of him. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Her eyes were as bright as the stars in the sky, deep and crystal-like. Her entire body exuded an indescribable aura. Her aura had completely changed, and her life level had been greatly elevated. The only thing that didn't change was her charming face. Her skin was tender and delicate, and she revealed a sincere smile when she looked at him. "Congratulations, Princess Li," Lin Feng said with a smile. As he expected, Princess Li awakened her bloodline for the third time. Only less than 10% of the practitioners in the Breaking Life period could awaken their bloodline. Now Princess Li was one of them. In addition, her bloodline was refined and her potential was stimulated. Now, Princess Li not only entered the Imperial list, but also they were much stronger than giants. "Thank you." Princess Li smiled sweetly. She didn't say anything superfluous, only sincere gratitude. Without Lin Feng's help, she wouldn't be who she was now. No wonder the youth with wind in the number 11 position didn't challenge her. Princess Li's strength was so strong that she was almost comparable to the former master of Star Hall. However, Princess Li's trial points had been exhausted after continuously practicing in the number 2 Tao realm. If she wanted to continue to stay here and wait for the promotion, she needed Lin Feng's help. "How's your potential?" Lin Feng asked. "Almost." Princess Li nodded. Lin Feng nodded. After 40 days in the number 2 Tao realm, even if Princess Li's bloodline was strong, her potential was almost stimulated. In this case, Princess Li might as well advance first. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Light flashed in his hand, and suddenly 5 Mu God tokens were thrown into the air. Princess Li received them in a daze. She was a little absent-minded. Before she had time to react, she had been wrapped in the bright light. Lin Feng's eyes also moved, and the artificial intelligence's voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Number 17 collected 9 Mu God tokens and completed the trial assembly. He obtained the middle-level magic medicine of the Yu clan and entered the Yu Emperor's realm. The voice was still indifferent. Lin Feng looked forward. Princess Li opened her mouth slightly and wanted to say something, but she couldn't hear it. Wow! The light flashed, and Princess Li disappeared instantly. Lin Feng smiled. He could guess what Princess Li wanted to say. That day, Princess Li was willing to sacrifice herself so that he could advance. As a man, how could he be stingy? At this time, 1 Mu God token and 5 Mu God tokens were not much different. Mu God tokens were the same as trial points. It was good to have more, but less didn't mean no competitiveness. 3 more. Lin Feng had 8 Mu God tokens before. Now he gave out 5, and there were 3 left. One of them was for him. King Tianyao has 7. With these 2, he can advance. In the past 10 days, he had already thought it through. Since he was going to stay until the end, what was the difference between taking 8 Mu God tokens and 1 Mu God token? There were advantages to staying until the end. Although the possibility of being eliminated was higher, he had more time to cultivate and improve his combat capability. If he could enter the Yu Emperor's realm, he would face stronger warriors and be more competitive. There were losses, but there were gains. On the 171st day, the Starry Hall Master still stayed in Wushan No. 1 Tao Realm and didn't come out. No one challenged him, but King Tianyao came out of Wushan No. 3 Tao Realm. He looked tense and unhappy. He wasn't stupid. It was obvious that Princess Li advanced because of Lin Feng. Lin Feng's actions clearly showed that he didn't put him in his eyes and was acting on his own. King Tianyao, who had been in a high position for many years, was proud and aloof. What do you mean by this? King Tianyao questioned Lin Feng mercilessly with sharp eyes. King Tianyao, please calm down. It's like this. Lin Feng had guessed that King Tianyao would have such a reaction. He was neither servile nor overbearing. Then, he told King Tianyao about Princess Li. Princess Li had used up all her trial points. He could either give her trial points or give her the Mu God token to advance. There were only 2 choices. If he gave her more trial points, his advantage of being the rear guard would be completely wiped out. Hearing Lin Feng's explanation and plan, King Tianyao's expression eased a little. He asked with burning eyes, You didn't lie to me? Of course not. Lin Feng smiled faintly as his eyes flickered. As long as King Tianyao is willing to cooperate, the next step is to eliminate the Starry Hall Master. Regardless of whether it succeeds or not, I am willing to give you 2 Sea God tokens. King Tianyao currently had 7 Sea God tokens. He was only missing 2. Okay, King Tianyao nodded. I'll believe you this time. Chapter 11-12. Wushan No. 1 Tao Realm. In the last 10 days, I must surpass King Tianyao. The Master of Star Hall secretly accumulated energy. From No. 2 Tao Realm to No. 3 Tao Realm to No. 1 Tao Realm, her strength improved every time. Compared to King Tianyao, her biggest advantage was Wushan No. 1 Tao Realm. Including this time, it was already the 3rd cycle. Because King Tianyao entered Wushan No. 3 Tao Realm, they missed each other. Otherwise, King Tianyao would definitely challenge her for the 3rd time. Unlike No. 2 Tao Realm and No. 3 Tao Realm, Wushan No. 1 Tao Realm's potential was stimulated to the extreme, but it could still improve its strength. This was something that No. 2 Tao Realm and No. 3 Tao Realm didn't have. The Holy Spring energy of No. 1 Tao Realm was very special. Although she knew that Princess Li had advanced, she didn't care too much. She would definitely occupy one of the 3 places. Even if her opponent was King Tianyao, she was 50% sure that she could win in the last 10 days. But if it wasn't necessary, she didn't want to meet King Tianyao. Lin Feng and King Tianyao were waiting. The remaining 4 people all had Golden Sea God tokens. Their initial trial points exceeded 20 points. However, King Heavenly Glory and Stellar Hall Master had bid for the Sea God token once. The 2 of them had the lowest trial points. King Heavenly Glory had 3 points left, while Stellar Hall Master probably had 1 or 2 points. Both of them had reached their limits. On the contrary, No. 11 Wind Youth, who had always been independent, managed to preserve his trial points very well. On the 175th day, he even entered the empty Wushan No. 2 Tao Realm. It was empty. Now, there was only the Master of Star Hall in Wushan No. 1 Tao Realm. Although Lin Feng wanted to enter Wushan No. 2 and No. 3 Tao Realm, it wasn't the best time. His alliance with King Tianyao had reached a critical moment. If he eliminated the Master of Star Hall, his chances of advancing would be more than 90%. Will she accept the challenge? King Tianyao asked. It's good that she will, Lin Feng said, but even if she doesn't, the Master of Star Hall will still need to use one trial point. Although King Tianyao couldn't challenge again after rejecting 3 challenges through the Hushin token, the 3 challenges were fatal because the Master of Star Hall's trial points were in danger. But King Tianyao was different. Even if he used all his trial points, as long as he didn't use his Hushin token, he could gather all 9 Divine Sea tokens at any time and safely advance to the next level. All right, King Tianyao nodded. To him, it wasn't difficult to defeat the Master of Star Hall one-on-one, even if the Master of Star Hall's power had increased tremendously. But who isn't? Lin Feng hesitated for a moment, but did not ask. The method was not bad, but there was an uncertain factor. The Stellar Hall Master had been in Wushin No. 1 Dao realm for 30 days, but the Heavenly Glory King had not been in there for even a single day. The difference in strength between the two would be reduced, and the Heavenly Glory King might not be able to defeat the Stellar Hall Master. However, there was no point in asking. Given King Tianyao's pride and self-esteem, asking would only anger him. Of course it's good to win, but losing is not a big deal. Lin Feng began to plan. Day 181. Lin Feng had 15 trial points left, but King Tianyao only had 2 trial points left, which were almost depleted. However, Star Hall Master wasn't any better. She's out. Lin Feng looked at King Tianyao, and the latter understood. He immediately activated the Sea God token and challenged the Star Hall Master. Both of them were golden Sea God tokens, so there was no advantage to be gained. Regardless of whether it was the challenger or the challenged, 1 trial point would be deducted first. King Tianyao could only bet 1 trial point, but the Star Hall Master failed? Lin Feng was stunned. He immediately activated the God Sea token and realized that the Star Hall Master could no longer be challenged. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't expect the Star Hall Master to be in a worse state than he had expected. He had used up all his trial points. He knew the rules of the actual combat trial very well. When there was only 1 trial point left, one wouldn't be able to enter the Forbidden Battle Zone and pass the God Sea token challenge. What should we do next? King Tianyao asked. Observe, Lin Feng said, and see what will happen in 10 days. If there were no accidents, the Star Hall Master would release one of the God Sea tokens in 10 days, just like Lei Jin. The situation would become more and more favorable to them. Day 181. Day 183. Day 185. Lin Feng didn't make a move. He held the Pearl of Wisdom in his hands. He knew very well that the Star Hall Master must be very anxious now. Even if she had 100 tricks up her sleeves, it would be useless against him and King Tianyao, who were in a turtle shell. As for number 11, the Wind Youth, he was even more helpless. He had already entered Wu Shun number 2 Dao Realm. On the 190th day, the Star Hall Master would be forced to release the God Sea token. However, whoosh. Lin Feng's eyes moved. King Tianyao, who was in front of him, trembled slightly. What's wrong? Lin Feng asked. King Tianyao said in a deep voice, she issued a challenge to me. She was the Star Hall Master. With only 1 trial point left, the Star Hall Master was at his wit's end and had no other choice. Rather than releasing a portion of the Sea God token every 10 days, they might as well take the risk. Lin Feng shook his head. The Starry Hall Master had revealed her true intentions. Currently, they did not need to fight her head-on. They could just exhaust her slowly. Just as he was about to speak, King Tianyao was suddenly enveloped by a strange energy. He couldn't get close. The powerful energy firmly protected him. He accepted. Lin Feng was stunned. He didn't expect King Tianyao to accept so quickly. He didn't even have time to speak. Lin Feng frowned slightly and sighed. He was helpless. After all, he was King Tianyao, the leader of the Glory Alliance's 4 kings. He was a super expert ranked 6th on the heaven list. He had his own pride and dignity. He wouldn't allow himself to be manipulated by Meng Chao. To him, if he didn't accept the Star Hall Master's challenge, he would lose face. Furthermore, He had fought with the Starhall Master once in the battle for Wuxia No. 2 Dao Realm. He had obtained a complete victory and was very confident. Naturally, King Tianyao accepted the challenge without hesitation. He was very confident in his own strength. Thump, thump, thump. Lin Feng's heartbeat sped up. He was worried. No one knew the strength of Wuxia No. 1 Dao Realm better than him. Meng Chao had only been in there for 10 days, but the Starhall Master had been in there for 30 days. Her strength was now unfathomable. It should be fine, right? Lin Feng pursed his lips. The long wait meant that this was an intense battle. The longer it dragged on, the more worried Lin Feng became. In the end, his prediction came true. Whoosh, King Tianyao's body turned into a ray of light and disappeared. Lin Feng's eyes widened. He looked at the scene in front of him with an extremely ugly expression. He could clearly guess what had happened. It was nothing more than advancement and elimination. The first thought that appeared in his mind was King Tianyao had been eliminated. Before he finished thinking, the artificial intelligence's voice sounded. Fighter number 2 has collected 9 God Mu tokens and completed the trial. He has obtained a mid-level U Clan Divine Medicine and entered U Emperor's Realm. Fighter number 2 was the Starhall Master. Chapter 11-13. Carelessness and Failure. Lin Feng shook his head. King Tianyao was too confident, but sometimes there was only a thin line between confidence and conceit. He could completely ignore the Starry Hall Master as he was already in an undefeatable position. The Starry Hall Master was completely spent, but she turned the tables in the end. He only trusts himself. Lin Feng sighed. From the beginning to the end, King Tianyao had been wary of him. It was difficult for him to trust him completely. From his point of view, it was not a problem to do so. After all, the Starry Hall Master had been defeated by him before. If he defeated her again, he would be able to obtain enough Sea God tokens to advance. Why not? However, he did not expect that the Starry Hall Master, who had been in Wuxia No. 1 for 30 days, had already been reborn. A single misstep caused eternal regret. Although it was a pity that King Tianyao was eliminated, it did not affect Lin Feng that much. He also knew that even if he entered U Emperor's Realm, the chances of cooperating with King Tianyao would not be high. On the contrary, the Starry Hall Master's advancement had cleared the obstacles for him. There was only one spot left. His opponent was someone who also had a Golden Sea God token. Number 11, the Young Man of Wind. He will not exceed 10 points. Lin Feng knew that this was the limit of his estimation. In fact, from his point of view, the Young Man of Wind had about 5 points. However, he still had 15 points. In terms of points, he had an obvious advantage. In terms of strength, I must not let him enter Wu Shan No. 1. Lin Feng was shocked. The lesson of the past was still vivid in his mind. He could not repeat the same mistake. He entered Wu Shan No. 1 on the 175th day. It is now the 185th day. There are still 10 days before he comes out. Lin Feng calculated, and his eyes suddenly lit up. If I enter Wu Shan No. 1 now, I can separate him after one cycle. It was just like how King Tianyao could not challenge the Starry Hall Master when he just came out. He could enter Wu Shan No. 1 twice. In 20 days, he could greatly increase his combat strength. At the same time, he could restrict his opponent's growth. Even if number 11 Wind Youth were to challenge him in a few days, he would not be able to defeat him. Let's do that. Lin Feng's figure instantly disappeared. Wuxia No. 1 Dao Realm. One trial point was needed to enter again, but it wouldn't be needed to continue cultivating. Lin Feng was very clear about this. His trial points went from 15 to 14, which was more than enough. At most, he would only lose points in the past few days. First, I'll continue to stimulate my bloodline and excavate my potential. Then, I'll increase my potential in other areas. Lin Feng's train of thought was clear. In the past 10 days, his strength had increased tremendously, but a large part of it was due to the upgrade of the Origin Star Realm and his life-breaking stage strength. The true awakening of his bloodline had yet to end. Whoosh, Lin Feng once again entered the Holy Spring, and energy quickly covered his entire body. His body was like a bottomless pit as he continued to absorb. This was the best place to increase one's strength. For the first 10 days, he continued to stimulate his bloodline potential. For the second 10 days, Lin Feng stepped into the 5th level of life-breaking stage. The Holy Spring's energy was endless, and the absorption rate of the level 4 origin star realm was even more terrifying. For other life-breaking stage experts, it might take thousands or even tens of thousands of years to reach the next level, but for Lin Feng, it was as easy as drinking water. Although he would need more and more energy, but the rate of increase was still terrifying. Pop, Lin Feng knitted his eyebrows tightly. At the moment, his body had been changing intensely. He had been continuously taking low-grade Yu-Clan divine medicines, which had brought him an inexhaustible amount of dark power, but had also put a burden on his body. After all, this divine medicine was meant for the growth of devils. The human body had to bear it, so naturally, it had to pay more. You pay, you get. Level 3. Lin Feng gnashed his teeth. He felt that the connection between him and the ocean of darkness was getting closer and closer. After absorbing the 3rd bottle of low-grade Yu-Clan divine medicine, the first one to make a breakthrough was the Tao of dark matter. Although the Tao of dark devil was the one with the best potential, the Tao of dark matter was the one with the highest potential. After the Tao of dark matter was the Tao of dark demon, the Tao of oblivion, and the Tao of heavy darkness. The 6 paths of darkness had all reached the 3rd level. This was the limit of life-breaking stage cultivators on planet Nemo. This was the maximum power that a rank 3 origin star realm could withstand. At this moment, he had only used a little more than 4 bottles of elementary Yu-Clan's divine medicine. It's the energy of the Holy Spring. Lin Feng understood. Although the potential of his light and darkness body had been almost fully excavated in the first 10 days, as he entered the life-breaking stage and the origin star realm leveled up to level 4, the potential emerged again. After 20 days of continuous cultivation, not only the potential, but also the energy of the Holy Spring had a great effect. His body had reached the limit of the life-breaking stage. His understanding of the great Tao of light and the great Tao of darkness was now dozens of times greater than before. Although he hadn't comprehended any mysteries, the 3rd level of dark matter was no weaker than any life-breaking stage expert. What he lacked was the ability to fully utilize this power. It's almost time. Lin Feng was ready. He had absolute confidence that he could defeat Win number 11, who came to challenge him. But things didn't always go as planned. Win number 11 didn't issue a challenge. Oh, Lin Feng smiled in surprise. The situation was better than he had expected. Win number 11 had a need for Wu Shan number 1 Tao realm. There was only one reason why he didn't issue a challenge. He had run out of trial points. It was already the 6th day of the actual combat trial. In other words, he had already used up 0 trial points. Win number 11 had directly activated Wu Shan number 1 Tao realm and also consumed trial points. In addition, he was only a Heaven Glimpse expert in the first 3 levels of the actual combat trial. Therefore, he didn't get as many trial points as King Heavenly Glory and Star Hall Master. However, Meng Chao wouldn't challenge him. King Heavenly Glory's mistake was still vivid in his mind. It was a critical moment now. If he could advance easily, there was no need to fight him. But if there was really a battle, then come. Lin Feng smiled calmly. He was fearless. He continued cultivating. Although Wu Shan number 1 Tao realm couldn't stimulate its potential, the energy of the Holy Spring was still top grade. Its effect was no worse than the universe crystal. Lin Feng soaked in the Holy Spring and rapidly improved his battle strength. At the same time, he could also divide his attention to cultivate other things. Dark Curve Star. It was a perfect heaven-ranked sacred treasure that could wield the power of 3 levels of the great Tao of darkness. The first ability, Warp Dark Star Boundary. The second ability, Dark Curve Suppression. The third ability, Dark Curve Stab. Right now, the power of each of his abilities was improving and transforming as his cultivation base in the great Tao of darkness increased. The 3 abilities each contained the Tao of origins. Now, they were even more powerful. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. He comprehended them step by step. First, he had the Warp Dark Star Boundary and Dark Curve Suppression, which were close to 100% of their power. Finally, he had the ability to wield terrifying attack power. Chapter 11:14. Dark Curve Stab. Dark Curve Star's third ability was its only offensive ability. It was also its strongest ability. If the distorted Dark Star Boundary and Dark Curve Suppression were only one-star profound meanings of origin, then Dark Curve Stab was most likely a two-star profound meaning of origin. This was also why Lin Feng found it so difficult to comprehend it previously. His Dark Cultivation realm was not high enough. However, it was different now. Dark Curve Stab, the Tao of Dark Matter. The stab's power depends on the level of the Tao of Dark Matter. Lin Feng was very confident. Even if he could not fully comprehend this profound meaning in a short time, what was a sage treasure? If he used his origin energy, he could still control it without fully comprehending the profound meaning, but the power would be slightly weaker. However, he had 3 levels of the Great Tao of Darkness and 10,000 times Dark Heart. Whether it was in terms of quality or quantity, the Darkness origin source was overwhelmingly superior. Ever since he entered the 5th stage of the life-breaking stage, his strength had stabilized. However, the Holy Spring's energy was still nourishing his body. The Level 4 Origin Astral World had brought 10,000 times Light Heart and Dark Heart. The Holy Spring had also transformed the Tai Yu Star's grade. His strength was still increasing rapidly. On the 10,000th day, the artificial intelligence's voice sounded again. Trial participant number 11 has released 1 Sea God token. Do you want to make a bid? Lin Feng was slightly stunned. He looked at his trial points and saw that he had 11 points left. He smiled. No. Lin Feng rejected decisively. Even if he obtained all the trial points of a youth, he would not be able to gather 9 Sea God tokens. Previously, the Stellar Hall Master had defeated the Heavenly Glory King and received all 7 of his Sea God tokens. In addition to her original 5 to 6 Sea God tokens, she had already released 9 Sea God tokens. The extra tokens would not be returned. He only had 3 Sea God tokens now. The youth should have about the same. The 2 of them together would not be enough to advance. What a pity. Lin Feng sighed. If the Heavenly Glory King had not been so conceited and impulsive, eliminating the Stellar Hall Master step by step and using his trial points to purchase the Sea God token, the 2 of them could have easily advanced. However, there was nothing to regret now. What made him curious was if number 11, the Youth of Wind, releases all of the Divine Sea tokens, will I be able to advance directly? Lin Feng's heart was moved. If that was the case, it would truly be a victory without a fight. Lin Feng wasn't afraid of fighting, but there wasn't much need for him to fight with Wind Youth number 11. On the one hand, the opponent was not very strong. On the other hand, if he defeated the opponent, it would be the same as directly advancing to the next level. The remaining points would be wasted. 11 points were equivalent to 110 days of cultivation time. If he was destined to enter the Yu Emperor's realm to compete, the 110 days would be extremely precious. Let's not talk about those in the future. As for the current Star Hall Master, could he defeat her? No. Lin Feng was very clear. Clenching his fists tightly, his eyes were bright and full of fighting spirit. Indeed, he couldn't do it now. However, after 110 days, his strength would increase to a level that even he couldn't estimate. At that time, even if he couldn't defeat her, he wouldn't be too far behind her. Continue cultivating. Lin Feng occupied Wuxia number 1 Dao realm and felt very comfortable. He didn't need to pay any trial points, and no one fought over it. The perfect Holy Spring nourished his body, strengthened his physique, and stimulated his potential. While increasing his realm, he could also comprehend and cultivate Upanishads. Dark Curve Stab. Lin Feng's consciousness was immersed in the sea of dark origin and was surrounded by endless dark elements. Now that he had reached the 3rd level of dark cultivation, his perception and comprehension of Upanishads had greatly improved. The level 4 Source Star realm was even more inclusive of everything, allowing him to fully immerse himself in the integration. His efficiency was far better than the life-breaking stage cultivators on the Nemo planet. The path of dark matter is a form of nothingness. Like light, it focuses on transmission. Lin Feng still had a lot of knowledge about the path of dark matter. After all, it had been mentioned countless times in the science and technology of Earth, including the existence of the path of dark matter. It was a large part of the universe. This was a genuine great Tao of darkness. Although light and darkness are opposites, many Tao existences are similar. For example, the path of dark matter and light. Lin Feng's immersion in the path of dark was far less than the path of light, especially the path of light. He first cultivated the white crane glimmer and then the moon shuttle incantation. Reaching the second level of the path of light relied on one step at a time, without any shortcuts. From the path of light to the path of dark matter, there were many comprehensions that could be used as reference. Light is tangible, but dark matter is intangible. Light has light, but dark matter does not. Light focuses on speed and stability, while dark matter focuses on strangeness and change. Starting from light and then comprehending the path of dark matter, it was twice the result with half the effort and saved a lot of time. The most important thing was that he had completely stimulated the potential of his bloodline. His consciousness was immersed in the sea of origin of darkness. Previously, it was only the size of a pea, but now, it was as if he was in an alternate dimension. The difference was more than 100 times. The key to dark curve stab lies in two aspects: dark curve and stab. Lin Feng had a deep understanding of dark curve. Previously, he had comprehended the distortion dark star barrier. It could be said that dark curve itself was the essence of the heaven-grade perfect holy treasure, dark curve star. The real difficulty was stab. Dark curve was like the prelude to the attack, the framework, and stab was the fatal blow. It's different from the path of light. The key to dark curve stab should be in line with the true essence of the path of dark matter: strangeness and change. Lin Feng's comprehension was very strong. The right time, the right place, and the right people allowed him to firmly grasp dark curve star and lay the foundation for entering Yu Emperor's realm. His strength was improving every day, and the actual combat trial was counting down every 10 days. Ding! On the third day, a familiar sound rang in his mind again. But this time, it was not the release of the God Mu token. It was because the Wind Youth number 11 had used up all his God Mu tokens. There was only one left. Trial participant number 11 has used up all his trial points. The artificial intelligence's voice was cold and concise. Since there are only 2 trial participants left, according to the rules of the God Mu assembly level, trial participant number 11 will stay until trial participant number 3 challenges or uses up all his trial points. As the voice fell, Lin Feng smiled. It was not too unexpected. He had thought of this possibility before, because the 2 of them had less than 9 God Mu tokens combined. In other words, the Wind Youth number 11 would wait until he finished cultivating and then compete with him. It was not the best rule, but it was not bad either. At least, the Wind Youth number 11 did not have any trial points and could not enter Wuxin Dao realm. Moreover, he had enough time to cultivate. When his trial points were used up, his strength was no longer the same as before. Very good. Lin Feng continued to cultivate in Wuxin Dao realm number 1. It was the final sprint. Chapter 11:15. Lin Feng didn't enter Tao realm number 2 and Tao realm number 3. Both King Tianyao and Princess Li had entered it before, so he knew what was inside. It was the same holy spring with different energy composition. If he entered Tao realm number 3 and then entered Tao realm number 2, Tao realm number 1 would have an effect. But if he came out of Tao realm number 1 and then entered Tao realm number 2 and Tao realm number 3, the effect would be greatly reduced. Maybe the energy composition of the holy spring was different. At the beginning, the effect would be better than Tao realm number 1, but not much better. After all, his potential had been stimulated. If he wanted to enter Tao realm number 2 and Tao realm number 3 again, he would need to use 1 trial point. At present, 1 trial point was equivalent to 10 days of practice, 10 days in Wuxin number 1 Dao realm. Instead of running around and making use of every opportunity, It was better to concentrate on practicing in Tao Realm number 1 without being interrupted. After all, continuity was very important in the comprehension of the mystery meaning, especially now that his foundation was very stable in all aspects. Compared to other strong practitioners in the breaking life period, he only lacked the comprehension and realm of the mystery meaning. Dark Curve Stab. Lin Feng's goal was very clear. The strongest power of the Dark Curve Star, which could unleash the third level of the Way of Dark Matter, was the key for the next 90 days. 2 stars of the mystery meaning of origin, 3 levels of the cultivation of darkness, 10,000 times the Dark Heart, and the power of the Dark Curve Star. With this attack alone, he could kill anyone. But the key was to comprehend. There was plenty of time. Under the continuous comprehension of Tao Realm number 1, the 10,000 times the Dark Heart, the stimulation of the potential of the body of light and darkness, and the 3 levels of the Great Way of Darkness, Lin Feng's attainments in the Great Way of Darkness were unparalleled. Sensing and comprehending were within reach. 2 stars of the mystery meaning of origin was indeed difficult, but only for other strong practitioners in the breaking life period. Standing on the shoulder of the giant, Lin Feng not only saw more, but also saw further. On the 7th day of the 90 days of practice, he had mastered the comprehension method. On the 15th day, he succeeded. On the 27th day, he comprehended the essence of the mystery meaning. On the 44th day, he successfully unleashed the power of the Dark Curve Stab with the essence. 80%. Lin Feng put away the dark crooked star, his eyes shining brightly. The remaining 20% would require him to practice it well. He had to perform the same blade art over and over again to be able to bring out 100% of its power. It was the same for the profound intent, especially in the middle of a battle. 83%, 85%, 87%. Lin Feng slowly increased the power of his dark curve thrust, and his strength and cultivation increased with each passing day. 90%. As for the rest, I'll rely on actual combat to perfect it. Lin Feng ended his practice of dark curve thrust. On the 55th day, the target was successfully achieved. The current him, even if I'm not as good as the Star Hall Master, I'm not too far off. Lin Feng smiled confidently. The final dash did not stop. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't waste this precious opportunity. In Wushan number 1 Dao Realm, he absorbed the energy from the Holy Spring, and his strength increased rapidly. On the 58th day, he successfully stepped into the 6th stage of life-breaking stage from the 5th stage of life-breaking stage. He was getting closer and closer to the real top powerhouse of life-breaking stage. The improvement of his strength brought about a slight increase in his potential. The nourishment of the Holy Spring was comprehensive and gentle. Lin Feng held the black saber of sin and closed his eyes. While absorbing the Holy Spring, he also comprehended the saber technique. Demon's 3 heavy strikes. It was a saber technique passed down from the super powerhouse of the Yama clan. Each of the 3 moves was more powerful than the previous one. I've almost comprehended the first move, but it's still difficult to use its true essence. Although Lin Feng could perform the first move, the effect was not satisfactory. Plus, he didn't have a master to teach him, so his saber technique was improved by trial and error. The key is the Way of Dark Demon, but in addition to the Way of Dark Demon, there should be another key factor. What is it? Lin Feng pondered. He had never had an answer to this question. There is always a feeling of stagnation when performing the saber technique. Forget it. Lin Feng sighed softly. It was not a solution to waste time here. Lin Feng relaxed. The second move of Demon's 3 heavy strikes appeared in his mind, and he began to comprehend it. Now, with his saber heart level 5, he could comprehend and practice the second move. The second move was more powerful and complex. Similarly, the Way of Dark Demon and the essence of the saber technique were more profound. Firstly, the second move required practice. Secondly, he might be able to comprehend something from practicing the second move. Fine, that was the key answer. Time flew. It was already the 310th day of the actual combat trial. Lin Feng's trial points were finally down to the last point. The day of the final battle was getting closer and closer. He didn't stop cultivating, but the second move of Demon's 3 heavy strikes wasn't as easy as the first move. It couldn't be compared to the profound intent of darkness. The key to comprehending the saber technique was the saber heart. Level 5 was only the standard for breaking through the life realm. Lin Feng didn't have any advantage. However, Lin Feng's saber technique comprehension was quite outstanding. His 30-odd days of cultivation weren't wasted. Lin Feng's saber technique was like a rainbow, and his pitch-black pupils looked extremely demonic. After entering the dark demon state, he could already successfully use Demon's 2 heavy strikes. Its power was even stronger than Demon's first heavy strike, which he had comprehended more than 80%. Lin Feng wasn't worried about the upcoming battle. If he had just entered the actual combat trial, he might not have been a match for the youth in number 11. But now, even if it was King Tian Yao and the Star Hall Master, he still had the power to fight them. Come on. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. He wasn't looking forward to the final battle. He was looking forward to entering Yu Emperor's realm. That was where the true final battle would take place. Day 320. Lin Feng had used up all his trial points and was directly expelled from Wuxin number 1 Dao realm. However, the final battle didn't happen. This was because Lin Feng still had 2 God Mu tokens that he could use. Do you want to use them? Lin Feng smiled without hesitation. There was no harm in having 20 more days. Although he couldn't enter Wuxin number 1 Dao realm, there were countless fiend celestial guardians and mechanical warriors outside the actual combat trial area. He wanted to compete with the strongest mechanical warriors. He wasn't strong enough before, but now, it's just right for me to practice my saber. Lin Feng was very confident. Actual combat was very important. The countless mechanical warriors were a rare opponent for him to practice his saber. At the same time, he could use his dark curve thrust in actual combat. Although his strength had increased greatly, Lin Feng wasn't complacent. He was still a distance away from the true top experts like Li Mubai and Luo Xin. However, soon I'll catch up to them. Lin Feng was determined. Darkness shrouded the area where his saber was. The power of Demon's 3 heavy strikes was fully displayed. After 20 days of actual combat training, Lin Feng had converted all his comprehension into actual combat power. The artificial intelligence's voice rang in his mind. This time, Lin Feng had truly used up all his trial points. Lin Feng's figure disappeared. The final battle began. Chapter 11:16. Number 11, the Young Man of Wind. He was the most mysterious one among the 27 challengers, and no one had seen his true face. Lin Feng had a lot of opinions about this opponent. He was a respectable opponent, and the fact that he could stay until the final battle was enough to explain everything. A warrior of the Heaven Glimpse realm got the Golden God Mu token in the first 3 levels of the trial, and he survived until now by himself in the final actual combat trial. He was different from him. He really took the trial alone. Moreover, he was quite smart. He had a clear goal and didn't take risks easily, but he didn't hesitate when it was time to fight. Without him, he believed that he would get one of the 3 places to advance. Putting himself in his shoes, he might not be able to do better than him. Whoosh, whoosh, 2 figures appeared in the space of the God Mu token at the same time. Lin Feng was already very familiar with this battlefield. He had challenged countless challengers here. He won and lost, which greatly improved his strength and combat experience. Coming here again, he was no longer the same as before. The actual combat trial lasted 340 days, and 2 years passed like a flash of light. Now he was really standing among the strong warriors of the Nemo Star. Swish! Lin Feng's eyes were sharp, and his fighting intent was clear. He would definitely not lose this battle. Looking at number 11, the Young Man of Wind in the distance, his body seemed to be trapped in a tornado, entangled by wisps of strong wind. His appearance couldn't be seen clearly, and his breath was hazy. He was like a phantom that was hard to distinguish, like the moon in the water. It's at least a superb, holy treasure of the heaven level. Lin Feng thought secretly. This should be the reason why the youth number 11 was able to survive at the beginning of the actual combat trial. Even his own innate soul could barely sense his aura, but it was very hazy and difficult to distinguish, let alone the other martial artists. After a real face-to-face collision, he knew that his opponent was not ordinary. A cultivator of holy power. Lin Feng looked slightly dignified. He was the second warrior of dual cultivation that he had seen besides Princess Li. But unlike Princess Li, who focused on the soul of Earth, his talent soul was almost the same as the soul of Earth. They were both in the breaking life realm. They were exactly the same as him. The future is promising. Lin Feng felt that his opponent had amazing potential, but now, he was not his opponent. Clang! Lin Feng took out the black saber of Sin first. Dark Curve Star, which he had mastered all three abilities, was now his trump card. He no longer needed to practice it in actual combat to unleash its power. This included his strongest ability, Dark Curve Thrust. Even if he couldn't unleash 100% of it, he could at least unleash 95% of it. However, MOC's 3 heavy strikes was still like a quagmire. In the battle with the Guardian and the Mechanical Warriors, he still could not find the answer. The fact that Lin Feng dared to fight with saber techniques was enough to prove his current confidence. He was determined to win this battle. Chi! A sword turned into a stream of light and instantly pierced through the defense of the saber light. Its speed was extremely fast. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. While activating the light and darkness body, he channeled the dark demonic Tao. His opponent's sword heart was quite extraordinary. Limit level 5. Lin Feng felt the pressure. His saber heart was only at the initial level of the 5th level, but it was just pressure. He had already considered this possibility. Right now, he was inferior to other life-breaking experts in terms of saber heart and profound meaning, but in terms of other aspects, boom. The dark demonic Tao instantly erupted. The absolute strength of the dark demonic Tao in the Grade 4 Origin Star world was enough to make up for his disadvantage. The terrifying power rumbled, causing the Wind Youth's body to tremble. Even the sword that pierced through had a flaw. Bang! MOC's 3 heavy strikes broke the sword with brute force. Lin Feng was as steady as Mount Tai. The dark demonic Tao caused killing intent to flash in his eyes. Although Lin Feng could perfectly control his heart and not be affected, the dark demonic Tao was a true great Tao after all. His heart would not be affected, but his combat strength would change. He would be bloodthirsty and decisive. Lin Feng's saber aura soared into the sky, containing an astonishing demonic power. Whoosh! Like a devil brandishing its claws, it went straight for the Wind Youth. In just an instant, Lin Feng had turned from defense to offense. It was enough to show how strong his combat strength was and his advantage. MOC's 3 heavy strikes was valiant and fierce. Its power was instantly revealed. However, the Wind Youth was also powerful. He was good at both offense and defense. His body was like a ghost. The tornado wrapped around his body as if he was teleporting, constantly shifting. Chi! Chi! Lin Feng maintained his offense. He was not in a hurry. For him, it was like practicing his saber. Having such an opponent was exactly what he wanted. He did not care about the consumption of the Dark Origin. The 10,000 times Dark Heart was at least 10 times stronger than a normal life-breaking expert. In terms of endurance, he could definitely suppress the Wind Youth. However, although the Wind Youth was at a disadvantage, it was not a one-sided battle. His attainment in the Divine Light Tao was very profound. Wind gave him a ghostly movement, while Light gave him the power to counterattack. However, his strongest move was the combination of wind and light. It could be said that his speed was extremely fast. Moreover, his body was not ordinary. Speed. Lin Feng was secretly impressed. The Wind Youth's overall strength was not very strong. However, he knew how to use his advantages. In terms of speed, even Yi Shiwen might not be able to match him. Wind and light were both the kings of speed. The combination of the two could bring the speed to the extreme. Speed? Lin Feng was stunned. His body turned sluggish. The sword light in front of him suddenly burst out. The Wind Youth's counterattack timing was very good. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. He suddenly put away the black saber of sin and used the first move of the evil demon's 3 strike slowly. It was very slow. It was slower than Lin Feng's normal swing of the saber. However, at this moment, the essence of the evil demon's 3 strike flashed. Whoosh, the image of a demon flashed in the void. The ferocious demon and the dark devil Dao were completely compatible. Lin Feng's momentum and the power of the saber instantly overlapped. It was like a demon god from the depths of hell had suddenly descended. Boom, boom, boom. The power of Lin Feng's blade surged like ripples in a lake. The power of Lin Feng's blade soared several times. The Wind Youth groaned and retreated in defeat. He did not expect Lin Feng to have such a move. Holding the black saber of sin, Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. So that's how it is. At this moment, Lin Feng finally understood. Although the creator of the evil demon's 3 strike, Yin Shi Dao, was a life-breaking expert, his body was far inferior to Yishuan's. His saber art was not only based on his understanding of the dark devil Dao, but also his body as a foundation. Yishuan's body was too strong. His strength was too strong, and his speed was too fast, which led to his blade swinging unconsciously becoming faster. Therefore, even though he had comprehended the first strike of the devil's 3 strike to perfection, he had neglected the speed of his blade swinging. The essence of the devil's 3 strike was the devil, the blade intent. Being fast did not mean it was powerful. A real saber was not necessarily a fast saber. It was a saber with a strong intent. It pointed directly to the great Tao of saber. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The black saber of sin soared to the sky. In an instant, his strength soared. This saber had comprehended the mystery of the evil demon's 3 strike. Chapter 11:17. Genius remembers love in 1 second /small. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. The young man of wind was at a complete disadvantage. Lin Feng had learned a lot from the actual battle. He increased the power of his saber technique by 1 level, forcing the young man of wind into a precarious situation in an instant. The more Lin Feng fought, the more he felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. He seemed to have seen this young man of wind somewhere before, but he had no memory of it. It's because of that super heaven-grade holy treasure. Lin Feng knew very well. The holy treasure that was filled with the elements of wind combined into one and concealed all the information of his opponent. Lin Feng paid attention in his heart, but his movements were decisive and concise. The more powerful his saber technique was, the more he had a new understanding of the evil demon's 3 strike. In terms of saber technique, even if Lin Feng had comprehended the mystery of the evil demon's 3 strike, he was still inferior to the young man of wind. However, his combat strength was a level higher, and his pressure was even stronger. Again and again, he kept pressuring. Oh, Lin Feng was shocked. He felt a powerful force rising spontaneously from his opponent. Laughing involuntarily, Lin Feng secretly praised the young man of wind in his heart. The young man of wind was worthy of being his final opponent. In the face of extreme pressure, at the last moment, he broke through. Sword Heart Level 6. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. This was the direction and goal of his efforts, and his opponent had achieved it 1 step ahead of him. Very powerful. The black light in Lin Feng's hand instantly flashed, and the dark curved star bloomed. It was time to end it. Dark star boundary of distortion. Lin Feng would not give his opponent any more chances. Even if there was a 1% chance of an upset, he did not want it to happen. The space was instantly distorted. Under the pressure of the 3rd level of the great Tao of darkness, the young man of wind, who was good at speed, was unable to move. No matter how fast he was, he could not compare to the restriction of the domain and boundary. Lin Feng had the absolute upper hand. It's time to end it. Lin Feng's figure flashed, and the distorted boundary was like flat ground. In the blink of an eye, Lin Feng appeared behind the Wind Youth. Dark demonic light flashed in his eyes, making him look like a demon god of death. The young man with wind reacted quickly as well. In an instant, he turned around and attacked. Countless rays of sword light and light combined to form a tornado attack, with great explosive power. But a trace of cold darkness appeared in an instant, and the twisting power pierced through everything. Boom! The figure of the wind youth transformed into a beam of white light and instantly disappeared from the space of the God Skull token. The endless light was swallowed up by the darkness. Lin Feng stood in this darkness like a demon god of death. His blood-red eyes flashed, but he did not feel any joy from his victory. Instead, he was a little surprised and shocked. That was... Lin Feng's heart raced. Just as the dark warp pierced through the youth's defenses, he felt a powerful resistance. It was a very familiar power. It was a giant golden dragon. True Dragon Saint Force. Lin Feng muttered. It was unbelievable that he had found someone who possessed the True Dragon Saint energy on the Nemo planet. Love, go little, say, Ku the True Dragon Saint energy came from his teacher, the Lord of the True Dragon. When he came to Earth, the Nemo planet already existed. To be precise, the humans who moved from Earth to the Nemo planet were already there. The Lord of the True Dragon arrived later than the humans on the Nemo planet. Therefore, it was impossible for the humans on the Nemo planet to possess the True Dragon Saint energy. I can't completely deny it. Lin Feng thought to himself. Nothing was impossible in this world. The True Dragon Saint energy might not be unique to his teacher. Maybe it came from the first generation of humans? Or maybe there was a seed of the True Dragon Saint energy in the Earth in the solar system. There were many things that he did not know. But there is another possibility. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he smiled. This possibility was much more likely than the other possibilities. No wonder he felt that the youth with wind was very familiar. His body shape, his strength, and his expertise, wind and sword. Everything matched. It was exactly the same as what he remembered. I hope it's true. Lin Feng smiled. He's still alive. Outside the Emperor Divine Realm. Whoosh! A figure surrounded by wind elements appeared. It was the youth with wind number 11. The shock on his face slowly disappeared. He shook his head and his chest calmed down. A faint smile appeared on his face. He did not feel disappointed or unwilling to be eliminated at all. Instead, he felt gratified and more motivated. Lin Feng is indeed Lin Feng. He is still so powerful. I lost to him again. The youth with wind smiled. His right hand turned illusory and a strange energy flashed. The concealed breath condensed, and the golden dragon faintly appeared, revealing a handsome and young face. It was the 26-year-old human from Earth who came from ancient Huaxia, just like Lin Feng. Li Jixing. To be precise, it should be Li Poji. It's not a bad thing to be eliminated early. I have gained a lot this time. I can enter the Death Knell graveyard before them. Li Poji moved quickly with the wind. The Emperor Divine Realm is not meant for me. I wonder if Brother Lin is lucky enough to enter it. It's not easy. First of all, you have to pass my master's test. Li Poji smiled. After so many years, Lin Feng was not the only one who had grown up. He had also grown up. Lin Feng once said that Li Poji's talent was better than his, and it wasn't a lie. What Li Poji lacked was a heart that was firm and unyielding, a heart that was determined to fight, and a heart that was strong enough to be strong. But today, Li Poji had been reborn. After experiencing failure, setbacks, and all kinds of hardships, people would always grow up. I was born to face the calamity. I should live my life to break the calamity. Emperor Realm. This was a cubic virtual space. Auroras crisscrossed, and transparent white light threads condensed into shadows. The faint light illuminated this silver metal space. The four sides were sealed, and it was like a three-dimensional universe space. It was full of science and technology. In this space, there were 8 figures scattered in different positions. Some stood tall like a pine tree, some hid in a corner, and some stood close together. Every cultivator was secretly on guard. Although they were in the same space, they did not hide their hostility at all. Li Mubai, Luo, Ji Ri, Ji Ying, Chi Yu, Princess Chi, Princess Li, and the Master of Stellar Hall. Out of the 6 warriors who entered with Great Yu Imperial Crystals, 2 of them had become warriors. They were waiting. waiting for the arrival of the last one and accumulating strength. The 6 warriors with great U imperial crystals were more or less regretful, especially when they saw Princess Li and the Master of Stellar Hall who had advanced. But there was no medicine for regret in the world. At the same time, it made them look forward to U Emperor Realm. The effect of a small dojo was so amazing. What would the stronger U Emperor Realm have? The inheritance of great Emperor Minwu, the most powerful opportunity, an ancient treasure, or the key to break through to the galaxy state. Swish, the 9th figure finally appeared. Chapter 11:18. Mid-level divine medicine of the Yu clan, Lin Feng murmured. At the moment of his advancement, he obtained a bottle of mid-level divine medicine of the Yu clan. Although he didn't know the specific effect of the medicine, there was no doubt that it should be of the same type as the low-level divine medicine of the Yu clan. However, now that his 6th Great Tao of Darkness had reached the 3rd level, there wasn't much room for improvement. Lin Feng's heart was moved. With the change of space and the change of aura, he suddenly sensed 8 different auras of life. Among them, 2 were particularly familiar. Princess Li, Master of the Star Hall. Lin Feng thought to himself. His vision suddenly became clear, and a faint white light surrounded him. What he saw was a silver-white metal space. Lines like light beams formed the entire space structure, and the stars of the universe were projected all around. Li Mubai, Luo, Qiyu, familiar faces appeared in front of him. At this moment, his arrival was the focus of everyone's attention. It's really you, Brother Lin. Qiyu was the first to speak with a smile. Senior Qi, Lin Feng nodded with a smile. Qiyu and he were friends. He sold his Great Yu Imperial Crystal to him in exchange for the Dark Curve Star. Without the Dark Curve Star, he couldn't have advanced at all in the Tao realm of Wu God. There are only 2 left. Everyone guessed that Brother Lin would win. Jiying smiled. Lin Feng was slightly surprised, but he immediately understood. The Master of the Star Hall, who had advanced before him, should have leaked the news about him. She had fought with him and knew his approximate strength. In comparison, he had a higher chance of advancing. But Brother Lin, you made us wait for a long time, Li Mubai said indifferently. Lin Feng was surprised. In his impression, this super expert, who was ranked 3rd on the heavenly list of Wu God, was very approachable. He was also very polite to him. But now, his words seemed to be a little unpleasant. On second thought, Lin Feng felt relieved. After the Master of the Star Hall had advanced, he had cultivated for more than 100 days. If he were to put himself in the Master of the Star Hall, he would be a little upset. I'm sorry, everyone. Lin Feng apologized. Yi Futian didn't want to offend anyone before he even started in Yu Emperor's realm. The Master of Star Hall and Si Ri didn't say a word. Li Mubai also looked calm. On the other side, Princess Li and Princess Qi smiled kindly. Lin Feng felt warm in his heart. No matter what, at least he still had allies in Emperor Yu's realm, even if they were the weakest too. Brother Lin, you really made a smart decision. I admire you. Qi gave a thumbs up and praised. However, no one knew if he was sincere or not. That goes without saying. Newborn calves aren't afraid of tigers. There's nothing that young people don't dare to do. Ji Ying gently stroked his long beard, exchanging a big one for a small one, and even earning a dark melody star. Furthermore, he was able to enter the Hoshin's dojo to gain experience first. How can an old man like you compare to such methods? It seemed like a compliment, but it was actually sowing discord between Lin Feng and Qi Yu. As the saying went, the older the ginger, the spicier it was. Lin Feng smiled calmly. Explaining wouldn't change anything. An enemy would always be an enemy, and a friend would still be a friend. In Emperor Yu's realm, everyone was an enemy. There was no reason to blame Ji Ying. Lin Feng looked at Princess Li. The latter smiled sweetly. Lin Feng nodded. At least he had a reliable ally. Princess Li and his strength had improved greatly. Together with Princess Qi, they wouldn't be inferior to any warrior in the following competition, including the strongest Li Mubai and Luo. As the saying went, 3 stooges were better than 1. Suddenly, boom, the entire 3-dimensional space shook like thunder. The stars in the surrounding universe seemed to glow with magic. Time flew and changed in an instant. Lines of light beams shone brightly, as if a mechanism had been activated. Lin Feng's eyes turned cold. He secretly looked around vigilantly, just in case. Lin Feng wasn't the only one on alert. Li Mu Bai, Luo, and Si Ri all looked solemn. Lin Feng didn't know when he first came here. However, the 6 of them who had the Great Yu Imperial Crystal were very clear. This was a big movement that had never happened in Emperor Yu's realm. Welcome to Emperor Yu's realm. All of you are the best warriors of the myriad Devil Kingdom, the elite experts of 1 in 10,000. Only the true Devil Sons are worthy of the favor of His Majesty, Emperor Yu. The voice was loud and clear, echoing throughout the enclosed space. Go, warriors! Pass the 3 tests set by Emperor Yu, and you'll be able to enter Emperor Yu's realm. You will be rewarded. Remember, there are only 3 places. A loud and clear voice resounded, shocking every warrior. It was especially so for the 6 warriors who held the Great Yu Imperial Crystals. All of them were struck dumb, and their expressions were very similar to those of the 27 warriors who had just stepped into Wu Xin's Dao realm. They were still in a state of confusion, but the master of Star Palace, who had experienced such a situation before, was no stranger to it. Her beautiful eyes flickered, and her figure flickered as she sped away. Lin Feng had just digested the information of the artificial intelligence. He looked in the direction where Master of Stellar Hall had sped away. Just a moment ago, the entire space had vibrated and changed. He didn't know when the light beam in one direction had disappeared. 3 tests. Swoosh! A black shadow followed Master of Stellar Hall and disappeared. It was the death anniversary. As an assassin, he knew the target and action best. Although he hadn't completely digested the heavy information just now, he had already started to take action. He clearly remembered the last sentence. There are only 3 places. In other words, 6 of the 9 people would be eliminated. This was the time limit. Swoosh! Swoosh! Li Mu Bai and Luo followed one after another. Soon, Qi Yu and Jiying also took action. The originally solemn and frozen atmosphere instantly dispersed and returned to normal. Only Lin Feng, Princess Li, and Princess Qi didn't take action immediately. The test wasn't that easy. Lin Feng wasn't worried. After experiencing Wu Shun's realm, he knew clearly what this place was. 3 tests set by Emperor Yu, what a joke. Would it be easy? Mr. Lin. Princess Li greeted him with a smile. Beside her was Princess Qi, who was steady and generous. She was mature with a hint of womanly charm. She was very similar to a peerless empress. Thank you, Child Lin, for taking care of my sister. I have heard about you from her. A faint smile was enough to explain everything. That was trust and gratitude. Princess Li and I are allies. We should advance and retreat together. Lin Feng said modestly. Without Princess Li's help, I couldn't have advanced. Mr. Lin is too modest. Princess Qi said, It's my sister who benefited from you. With a smile, Princess Qi stretched out her jade-like right hand. I hope we can sincerely cooperate here and overcome the difficulties together. Lin Feng didn't hesitate to shake hands with her. Princess Qi gave him a good feeling. She was the same type of person as Princess Li and Princess Qi. It was the right choice to cooperate with them. Of course. Lin Feng looked at Princess Li. Princess Li smiled sweetly. In Wu Shun's realm, we have already made an oath. If you don't leave, I won't abandon myself. Chapter 1119. A genius remembers love in 1 second. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. We are currently in the last place. Princess Qi said, Don't worry, sister. Princess Li smiled. Lin Feng nodded. This is the final selection of the Thousands Demons country. It's definitely not that simple. Lin Feng was very sure because of his experience in the Wushan Dojo. In other words, the test in the Wushan Dojo was the first round, and the test in the Yu Emperor's field was the second round. In the first round, there was a mechanical warrior whose strength was comparable to the top 10 on the divine list. The difficulty of the second round could be imagined. Yes. Princess Qi nodded slightly. It would be a lie to say that they were not anxious. After all, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The three of them moved forward quickly. Lin Feng and Princess Li had a tacit understanding. They observed the surrounding environment at a moderate speed. This place was like an endless interstellar passage. They could see the movement of the stars in the universe as they moved forward. Stepping on the transparent metal stairs, they felt like they were traveling in the starry sky. It's strange. There is no breath of other warriors. Princess Li's beautiful eyes were slightly doubtful. Princess Qi was also puzzled. Although they started late, they were not that late. In the blink of an eye, there was no breath of others. It was very strange. Lin Feng did not say anything. He had already spread out his soul of talent. He had already sensed it. Because the first test is just ahead. Lin Feng said. Princess Li and Princess Qi were surprised, especially Princess Qi. She looked at Lin Feng with curiosity in her beautiful eyes. In fact, Princess Qi was not the only one who was curious about Lin Feng. Luo, Shuri, and Qi were also very curious. How did Lin Feng advance? Among the 27 martial artists, his strength was completely at the bottom of the pile. Princess Qi would not ask more. As an ally, the first foundation was trust. She trusted Lin Feng very much because of Princess Li. Sure enough, after a while, a transparent crystal wall appeared in front of them. It blocked the front, but there was no one in sight. As they got closer, Princess Li and Princess Qi's expressions changed instantly. Through the crystal wall, they could see numerous strong warriors of the demon clan. Their bloody eyes were horrifying, as if they wanted to devour people. Countless blood-red eyes stared at them. They were like wild beasts that had been locked in cages for a long time, waiting for food. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes brightened. The crystal wall seemed to be in vain. Sensing could penetrate the barrier. The auras of the demon race powerhouses were innumerable, and all of them were at the peak of the stellar stage. Some had ferocious appearances and were incomparably huge. Some had fleshy wings and ferocious claws. If a life-breaker powerhouse were to enter, not even their bones would remain. Even if a powerhouse on the heaven roll of Minwu entered, the outcome would be the same. Suddenly, this is the first trial, the 10,000 Demons Cage. A clear voice sounded. Brave warriors pass through the 10,000 Demons Cage. You have 10 seconds to consider. After you enter, the passage will be closed. Let me remind you that there is no turning back in Emperor Yu's realm. Either you pass the test, or die. His voice was sonorous and resonant, and it went straight to his heart. The moment he landed, the countdown began. The twisted faces of the demon race and the nauseating smell of blood were enough to make any life-breaking expert retreat. This was more than a cage. It was hell. Princess Li and Princess Qi were already pale with fright. They had never seen so many demon race, and all of them were at the top. With their strength, they were unable to pass the test. If they were to enter the 10,000 Demons Cage, they would die without a doubt. The roar of the demon race went straight to their heart. Even the wise and intelligent Princess Li was confused for a moment and couldn't make a decision. Needless to say, Princess Qi's psychological quality was not much better than Princess Li's. The countdown continued. 10 seconds was very short. If they entered, they would die. If they didn't, they would be eliminated. Princess Li and Princess Qi wanted to move, but they couldn't. Seeing that the countdown was about to end, their bodies suddenly became light. Their waists, which were as soft as willow leaves, were held by a powerful force. A man's breath entered their noses. In a flash, they entered the 10,000 Demons Cage through the crystal wall. No! Before Princess Qi screamed, she was surrounded by countless powerhouses of the demon race. Princess Li widened her beautiful eyes and opened her cherry lips. In an instant, Princess Qi also reacted. She covered her mouth in disbelief. They were moving quickly in a cylindrical passage. An invisible force was protecting them. They were surrounded by furious powerhouses of the demon race, but they couldn't get close to them. This force didn't come from Lin Feng, but from the 10,000 Demons Cage itself. However, it was undoubtedly Lin Feng who led them forward. Swish! A touch of blush appeared on the pretty faces of the two girls. They had never been hugged by a man like this. The current situation was special, so the two girls couldn't make a sound. Fortunately, the cylindrical passage wasn't long. Soon, a light appeared in front of them. In an instant, slap. It was as if they woke up from a dream. It felt like a lifetime had passed. The first test is passed. A loud and clear voice sounded. Along with it was their feet on solid ground. The two girls came back to their senses instantly. What they saw was Lin Feng's tall and straight figure and his calm expression. When they looked back, it was like a dream. Behind them was like the stars in the universe. The circuit had been completely blocked. "Thank you, Mr. Lin." Princess Chi's plump chest was still undulating. Without Lin Feng's help, she couldn't pass the first test. Princess Li pursed her cherry lips and looked at Lin Feng with her beautiful eyes. "How do you know that the 10,000 demons cage is safe?" "I guessed." Lin Feng smiled. "Guessed?" The two girls were confused by this answer. "Liar." Princess Li revealed a rare expression of coquettishness. Princess Chi smiled. "Please tell me, Mr. Lin." "It was indeed a guess." Lin Feng smiled. "In fact, you can feel that this isn't an illusion in the traditional sense." The two girls nodded. They could see through the illusion at a glance. If it was an illusion, they would have entered it long ago. But it wasn't an illusion in the traditional sense, so it was still an illusion? The two girls looked at Lin Feng and wanted to know the answer. Lin Feng said the 10,000 demons' kingdom was destroyed long ago. After countless years, these powerhouses of the demon race couldn't have survived. This was a huge flaw. In the Wan Shun training hall, there were only mechanical warriors and guardian demons. Strictly speaking, they weren't real life. They relied on energy and didn't have self-consciousness. But the powerhouses of the demon race were different. They were real-life individuals. The two girls suddenly understood. Just as Lin Feng said, this flaw was indeed huge. But it happened so suddenly that they couldn't react in time. The psychological deterrence of 10 seconds was too strong. Moreover, whether it was the powerhouses of the demon race themselves or their aura, they were all real. Lin Feng smiled. Even he couldn't tell if this was an illusion, let alone the two girls. The technology of the galaxy state was enough to pass off as real. After all, they were only stellar level. "There's another reason why I said it was a guess," Lin Feng said. Chapter 1120. "What's the reason?" Princess Chi asked subconsciously. Princess Li suddenly thought of something. Her beautiful eyes widened as if she was suddenly enlightened. "People," Lin Feng said. "I didn't see or sense anyone else. There are 6 warriors in front of us, such as Li Mubai and Luo. With their strength, even if the illusion is real, they can pass it by force. But I can't sense their pneuma in the cage of 10,000 demons. Maybe the cage of 10,000 demons can cover the pneuma of the challengers, but the strongmen of the demon clan in it won't lie. What do you think will happen if a warrior tries to break in?" Lin Feng smiled and said. At this point, Princess Chi had completely understood. Princess Li said softly, "The cage of 10,000 demons must be in a mess with fierce battles. However, there is no battle and no smell of blood. It is enough to prove that this is an illusion and not reality." Lin Feng said with a smile, "So, slow has its advantages." The two girls smiled. As Lin Feng said, it was better to be slow in the first test. But in fact, the key was time and mentality. If the mind could be stabilized, Princess Li could see the flaws with her intelligence. But 10 seconds was too short. Only warriors with excellent mentality or warriors with absolute confidence in their strength could pass it. "Child Lin, who do you think will be eliminated in the first test?" Princess Li asked. "I'm not sure," Lin Feng said, "but I'm sure Li Mubai, Luo, and the master of Xingqian Hall will pass it on their death anniversary." Princess Li nodded gently and understood Lin Feng's meaning. Their strength was unfathomable. Even if they tried to break into the real cage of 10,000 demons, they could pass it easily in the first test of wisdom and courage. In front of absolute strength, everything was illusory. "Patriarch Ji is likely to be eliminated," Princess Chi said. "Feiji clan, Jiying, He ranked 15th in the Tianwu heavenly list and was the only patriarch among the 5 clans of Tianma. Princess Li nodded. Patriarch Ji has always been careful and doesn't take risks easily. Unless one has a keen insight like Child Lin, he can't react in time. The possibility of Patriarch Ji giving up is more than 90%. Princess Qi asked, "Where's Qiyu?" Princess Li pondered and said, "Senior Qi is the first warrior of the Red Sun clan. He is bold and careful. He is difficult to predict. The probability of elimination is half. But even if Senior Qi passes the first test, it will be very difficult for him to pass the second and third tests with his strength." Qiyu ranked 17th on the Minwu heavenly ranking. If that's the case, Qiyu is at a huge disadvantage. Princess Qi's beautiful eyes glanced at Lin Feng. Princess Li couldn't help but smile. Indeed, he had spent a lot of money to exchange for Great Yu Imperial crystals from Lin Feng, but in the end, he got nothing and waited for a year in vain. If he used the Little Yu Royal Crystal to enter the Divine Wu Dao realm, with Qiyu's strength, he could still enter the Divine Wu Dao realm to increase his strength. But now the loss outweighed the gain. Lin Feng smiled helplessly. He didn't want to harm Qiyu either, but the Yu Emperor godly realm was like this. No one could predict what would happen. The 3 of them continued forward. Lin Feng was in the middle, and Princess Li and Princess Qi were on his left and right respectively. They had vaguely affirmed Lin Feng's position as the backbone. With strength came responsibility. After the first test, Princess Qi was completely convinced by Lin Feng. If it wasn't for his help, they would have been eliminated. "I wonder what the second test will be," Princess Qi murmured. "Sister must be in a difficult position now." Princess Li chuckled. She hopes that the test will be harder to eliminate other warriors, but she also hopes that the test will be easier so that she can pass. Princess Qi blushed and said, "No way." Princess Li smiled and said, "Don't I know you, sister?" Princess Qi snorted and blushed even more. Lin Feng smiled. The small quarrel between the 2 women showed that they had a deep relationship. But he was also looking forward to the second test. After the first test, his blood was boiling and he wanted to challenge it. In fact, during the first test, he knew that it was an illusion, but he was looking forward to it. He was looking forward to the myriad demon's cage being real. Only through constant challenges could one continue to grow stronger. The second test. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Not far away, his senses had already touched the wall. He would reach it soon. However, this time, other than the wall, there was another martial artist's aura. "It's him," Lin Feng murmured. Thud, thud, thud. When Lin Feng's group of 3 reached the end of the passageway, the silhouette in front of them looked over with astonishment and admiration. The 2 princesses of the Peerless Hall are truly not inferior to men. Qiyu is impressed. His gaze landed on Lin Feng as Qiyu smiled. Brother Lin's reputation is indeed well-deserved. It was Qiyu who stayed in front of the second test. Senior Qi, Princess Li, and Princess Qi saluted. "Senior, you flatter me," Lin Feng said modestly. He reached out to stop Princess Qi and Princess Li. He stopped at a place far away from the crystal wall. With the experience of the first test, he believed that he would trigger the second test if he went forward. There was no harm in being prepared, especially. Qiyu's stop was very strange. "The 3 of you don't have to worry. The second test is different from the first test. There aren't so many scares." Qiyu smiled and pointed ahead. "The test is just ahead. You can enter at any time." Lin Feng looked outside the crystal wall. It was a resplendent, starry sky world. It was scattered like stars in the sky. It was beautiful and explained the natural beauty of the universe. However, this beauty gave people the feeling that it was a huge chess game. It was unpredictable and contained endless mysteries. To be honest, the reason why I stayed here is to wait for you. I hope that we can cooperate." Qiyu's eyes flashed. Before me, Li Mu Bai, Si Ri, Luo, and the Star Hall Master had entered one by one. However, they were all fighting for themselves. The second test is not a test of strength, but a test of wisdom. Qiyu looked at Princess Li. "I heard that Princess Li is extremely smart, so I'm waiting for you." Senior is honest. Princess Chi smiled. Forgive me for speaking bluntly. Now, shouldn't we be competitors? Chi laughed. Princess Chi, you are wrong. There are a total of 3 places. We may not be competitors. We can cooperate. You and I are not as strong as Li Mubai and the others. It is very difficult to snatch food from them. It is only possible if we work together. Princess Chi pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She looked at Lin Feng subconsciously. So did Princess Li. Chi was stunned. He also looked at Lin Feng with doubts. Lin Feng pondered for a moment and said to the 2 girls, I'll go in first. Before the 2 girls answered, Lin Feng had already stepped forward and walked towards Shiyu. At this time, his loud and clear voice sounded again. Chapter 1121. Warriors, welcome to the second test, the Dark Matter Labyrinth. You have 24 hours. If you can't get out of the labyrinth within the time limit, you will be eliminated. The countdown begins. A clear voice sounded in his ears. Lin Feng's eyes flickered and looked straight at Chiyu. The latter smiled slightly as if he was saying, I didn't lie to you, right? Turning his head, Lin Feng nodded to the 2 girls. Princess Li and Princess Chi entered immediately. The same voice sounded in their minds, and the countdown officially began. Princess Li and Princess Chi were lost in thought. Lin Feng looked straight ahead. The bright starry world didn't look like a dark matter labyrinth, but the artificial intelligence wouldn't lie. 24 hours. Princess Chi murmured. This should be the key to deciding the 3 places. Princess Li said. Lin Feng nodded. No wonder Chi wasn't in a hurry. Compared to 24 hours, a few minutes didn't matter. Even if he could pass, it would take at least 10 hours. Chi was very smart. He clearly knew his strengths and weaknesses. The second test was indeed his chance. So what do the 3 of you think? Chi glanced at the 3 girls and finally fixed his eyes on Lin Feng. Although he wasn't a very smart person, he still had good eyesight. Although he was surprised why the leader of the 3 was Lin Feng, it wasn't the time to be entangled with this. Sure enough, Princess Li and Princess Chi looked at each other and fixed their eyes on Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled. I owe Senior Chi a favor. Senior Chi's proposal is beneficial to both of us. I agree. What do you think? Although the highest bidder would win, Lin Feng still felt guilty for earning Senior Chi Yu's ruthless attack. He would help if he could. Moreover, one more person meant one more head. Chi was different from Li Mubai and Luo. Chi wasn't competitive enough. Even if he advanced, there was nothing to be afraid of. Generally speaking, the advantages outweighed the disadvantages. There was no harm in having more people to help. I have no problem. Princess Li took the lead to express her opinion. Princess Chi smiled. In other words, it didn't matter whether she expressed her opinion or not. Happy cooperation. Chi looked at Lin Feng with gratitude in his eyes. Swish, 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 whoosh. 4 figures appeared at the same time. Lin Feng's gaze swept across the surroundings, taking in everything at a glance. In the distant starry sky, the starry sky was scattered all over the universe, lighting up this dark matter labyrinth that had no source of light. The 4 of them were in the boundless darkness. He didn't even know where the entrance was, let alone the exit. Simplifying complicated things. Princess Li clicked her tongue. Lin Feng nodded. There were no complicated forks or illusions. This kind of labyrinth seemed simple, but in reality, there was no trace to be found. Those who were simple would not even be able to find the slightest pattern. But this one, there should be some clues. Lin Feng believed that the second test set by Emperor Yu wouldn't be a dead end. Moreover, the time limit was only 24 hours. As a maze, the time limit was not long, which meant that the dark matter maze must be traceable. Let's split up a little and think about it independently for a while. Then we can combine our opinions, Lin Feng said. Everyone agreed. Everyone had their own ideas, and a direct discussion might erase some of their ideas. The dark matter labyrinth. Lin Feng's cultivation had already spread out. He sensed carefully, and his heartbeat quickened. As the name suggested, this was a region full of dark matter. Although it couldn't be seen or touched, there was no doubt about the existence of dark matter, because the form of dark matter itself was nothingness. If there was no time limit, practicing the way of dark matter here would definitely make rapid progress. But now it was time to give up. The labyrinth removes all the complicated factors. In fact, there are only 2 points to get out of the labyrinth. First, confirm your location. Second, find the exit. Lin Feng frowned slightly. It was not difficult for him to confirm his location. Warriors who didn't practice the way of dark matter might not be able to sense the existence of dark matter, but he could sense it, and so could Princess Li. To be exact, every warrior of the demon clan who reached this test had this ability. So the key point was to find the exit. Without direction, how to distinguish? Lin Feng was lost in thought. They didn't split up for too long, and soon gathered together. Although it was important to think alone, brainstorming was also indispensable. It was always good to have more people and more brains. Let's express our ideas first. Princess Li said, I can sense the existence of a very strong dark matter. Qiyu said, I think the key lies in this dark matter. Lin Feng was slightly surprised, and then he suddenly understood. The way of light and the way of dark matter were opposite. In addition to the warriors of the way of dark matter, the warriors of the way of light could also sense the existence of dark matter, but it was only a general sense and not accurate. I can accurately sense the existence of dark matter and remember every position we have passed. Lin Feng said directly. It was not the time to be modest. If there was a way, the sooner they got out, the better. 24 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Princess Li's beautiful eyes flickered. I can also help to remember. Qiyu clenched his fist and said excitedly, Okay. Lin Feng pursed his lips, but this is a stupid way. We don't know how big this dark matter maze is, and we have no clue. We may not be able to find the exit position with only 24 hours. There must be a simpler way. Princess Li nodded. I think what we should do now is to fumble forward while looking for the peculiarities of the dark matter maze, and slowly find the rules. On the basis of the most conservative method, we can find the possibility of a shortcut and convenient. Qiyu and Princess Qi agreed. Lin Feng agreed. That's right. Time is the most precious. But which direction should we start from? Princess Li hesitated. Qiyu murmured. It seems that there is no difference in the 4 directions. Or we can go this way. Princess Qi pointed with her beautiful finger. Lin Feng said softly, Oh, sister, is there anything special here? Princess Li asked curiously. Princess Qi said, Nothing special. Although we didn't find the entrance, we were all facing this way when we first entered. Generally speaking, if the entrance is an invisible door, the exit should be at the end of the road in front of the entrance, right? Everyone pondered. It makes sense. Princess Li murmured softly and didn't deny it. After all, she had no other ideas. I think we should go this way. Lin Feng suddenly opened his mouth and pointed in the opposite direction of Princess Li. Qiyu and the other 2 looked over, and Lin Feng pointed to the top. Look up. Have you found the pattern of the stars above? Pattern? Qiyu opened his eyes wide. Princess Li had already reacted at this time, and her beautiful eyes flickered. Princess Qi was very curious. To be continued. Chapter 11:22. What's the pattern? Qi was confused. Is it related to the shape of the stars? Princess Qi asked curiously. Princess Li opened her red lips slightly. It should be the difference between sparse and dense. Lin Feng looked at Princess Li and praised her in his heart. As a native of Nemo's star, she could infer the key even though she didn't know about technology. Princess Li was quite smart. Without keeping everyone in suspense, Lin Feng said directly, If we treat this as a galaxy, then it's simple. A galaxy is like a whirlpool. The closer to the center, the stronger the energy. The stronger the energy, the more stars there are. Looking at the confused crowd, Lin Feng smiled gently. Simply speaking, as long as we follow the direction of the stars from sparse to dense, we will most likely find the exit. Really? Princess Qi's beautiful eyes lit up. So simple? Qi was stunned. Lin Feng smiled and didn't explain too much. It seemed simple, but it was difficult to do it. First, he had to confirm his position. Although the stars above could point out the direction, it was only a general direction. After all, there were too few things that could be seen by the naked eye. As a map, it was completely unqualified. But with a general direction, he was confident that he could pass the test within 24 hours. "Mr. Lin, please lead the way," Princess Li smiled and said. Lin Feng nodded and observed carefully. Soon he set off. Qi was still confused and didn't understand what Lin Feng said. But seeing that Princess Li and Princess Qi trusted Lin Feng, he could only give it a try. Anyway, he had no choice. Whoosh, whoosh. Lin Feng observed the sky as he galloped. He was either in a V or a Z shape, constantly changing his position. Lin Feng had mastered many tricks from crossing the river blindly at the beginning. He began to walk in a straight line more often. Yes, that's it. Lin Feng was more certain in his heart. After nearly an hour of galloping, the distance between the stars and the starry sky outside had decreased a little and became denser. His inference was not wrong. But we need to speed up, Lin Feng said seriously. At their current speed, even if they knew the direction, it was impossible to reach the center of the dense area, which was the exit, within 24 hours. Since he was already familiar with the directions in the sky, he naturally did not have to worry about getting lost. Although there was a possibility that he might deviate from the direction if he increased his speed, it would be fine as long as he could correct it in time. Okay. Princess Li and Princess Qi responded. Brother Lin, are you really confident that you can pass the second test? Qi was still a little skeptical. 80%, Lin Feng said modestly. Qi Yu's eyes widened as his heartbeat quickened. Lin Feng didn't sound like he was joking. Instead, he sounded confident and confident. 80% was already a rather high probability. Qi was not the only one who was happy. Princess Li and Princess Qi were also happy. If they could advance, it meant that they could enter the final third test. The 3 places to enter Yu Emperor's divine realm were right in front of him. Swish! Lin Feng instantly accelerated. Princess Li's state of mind was the calmest. Soon, she also accelerated. Princess Qi followed. Qi was still in shock, so his reaction was naturally slower. Suddenly, the entire dark matter maze changed abruptly. Layers of dark space seemed to have collapsed, and all positions were shifted instantly. Whoosh, whoosh, the entire space seemed to have been divided into countless layers, shuffling rapidly like cards. No one had expected this sudden change. Before Qi Yu could react, his vision blurred, and the others disappeared. In the next moment, a layer of space paper between Princess Li and Princess Qi rotated and changed. The 2 women were also separated. This is... Princess Li's expression changed instantly. At the moment when she was separated from Princess Qi, she felt dizzy. She was also shifted by space, and she didn't know where she would land. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. The light in front of Princess Li was already distorted and hazy. Suddenly, a strong force grabbed her wrist. A familiar aura came to her side and hugged her tightly. Princess Li's head was buzzing, and her consciousness was blurred instantly. The blurred consciousness came and went quickly. Soon, Princess Li woke up. She raised her head subconsciously and happened to meet Lin Feng's eyes. Princess Li came to her senses in a daze. She pursed her lips. Thank you, Child Lin. Lin Feng apologized. I'm sorry. I only caught you in time. Princess Qi was too far away. My sister. Princess Li hesitated. She should be fine. Lin Feng looked around. If I didn't guess wrong, this should be a small-scale space change. It doesn't have much lethality. Space change. Princess Li was stunned. Lin Feng nodded. The dark matter maze should be built based on the dark matter passage. Space changes often occur in the dark matter passage. Basically, there are small folds and bends, but there are also huge churning and twisting. Princess Li nodded as if she understood. After a long time, she said, So we can't find my sister for the time being? Lin Feng nodded. Not only Princess Qi, but also Senior Qi is separated. The first space change happened too quickly. Princess Li bit her lips. Is the probability of finding my sister high? Lin Feng shook his head. Less than 10%. It's the same as meeting other warriors. Princess Qi may be beside us now, or she may be far away. After a pause, Lin Feng said, But as long as Princess Chi can follow our previous method and go to the direction where the stars are concentrated, it's still possible to find the exit. I hope my sister can do it smoothly. Princess Li said. Let's go. Lin Feng said, no matter what, we have to get there as soon as possible. Okay. Princess Li responded. Speed up. Lin Feng took Princess Li. The speed of their team was undoubtedly much faster. Princess Li, whose strength had improved greatly, was faster than Princess Chi and Chiyu. Under the guidance of Lin Feng, they approached the exit little by little. Although there would be space changes every hour, which was similar to the dark matter passage, it was very similar to the dark matter passage. Except for the dark matter storm, the normal space changes and folds wouldn't move the warriors too far away. Even sometimes, instead, they were closer to the exit, because the energy is most concentrated at the exit. Lin Feng said, the traction force is the strongest, and the space changes will come from this direction. Princess Li smiled. In front of Lin Feng, she seemed to become a little woman. Her usual intelligence and wisdom were gone, and she was completely obedient to Lin Feng's command. It turned out that she was right to listen. Lin Feng was much more powerful than her here. They only experienced 7 space changes and came to the center of the entire dark matter maze. This is the exit. Lin Feng looked at the center of the vortex in front. Okay. Princess Li was pleasantly surprised. Chapter 11:23. Whoosh. Whoosh. When Lin Feng and Princess Li appeared, they both showed a touch of joy. The clear voice of artificial intelligence sounded in their minds, announcing that they had passed the second test. It took less than 8 hours. Although they were at a disadvantage in the first test, they recovered in the second test. It took less than 1/3 of 24 hours. Without wasting any time, the two of them sped forward. There is only one test left before they reach the Emperor's divine realm. Child Lin, do you think we'll be the first? Princess Li asked. We didn't waste too much time on the way. Even if we're not the first, we should be the second or the third. Lin Feng said. Princess Li nodded. The change of space every hour has a great revelation. As long as we pay attention to it carefully, we can distinguish the direction. Even without Lin Feng, Princess Li could find the pattern with her wisdom. It was not a problem for her to pass the second test, but it might take a little longer. Lin Feng nodded. Any change in the direction of the flow of energy would have a revelation. The distribution of stars at the top was one, and the change of space was another. However, it would take at least several hours, or even more than 10 hours, to find the pattern from the change of space. At this level, Princess Li and he had an advantage. But this was just his own idea. It didn't rule out that other warriors had a faster way. Child Lin, you are the smartest person I have ever met. Princess Li's voice was as light as a mosquito. Her beautiful face was slightly blushed. Lin Feng was still immersed in the second test, so he didn't hear Princess Li's murmur. Nothing. Princess Li smiled. Let's go, Child Lin. Okay. They were getting closer and closer to the third test, which was also the last test. Lin Feng was more careful. The closer they were to success, the more dangerous it would be. The surrounding space had completely changed. There was no starry sky like before. It was like stepping into the devil's den and the bloody hell. The horrible feeling and the coercion of Numa were everywhere. Be careful. Lin Feng's expression turned serious. Okay. Princess Li nodded and glanced at Lin Feng with her beautiful eyes. She felt inexplicably relieved. Even without Lin Feng's reminder, she had been fully alert. Before she entered the divine realm of Emperor, she had never thought that she could reach this step. With her Princess Chi and Princess Chang's strength, it was almost an extravagant hope. But now, she was only one step away from the realm of Emperor. It's right ahead. Lin Feng gradually slowed down. The Heaven Centipede cultivator's senses were already very close. Ahead of him was a test that was exactly the same as the previous 2 tests. Princess Li followed Lin Feng closely. Soon, they saw the end of the path. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He saw 3 snake-shaped dark passageways that led to an unknown place. In front of the snake-shaped passage, there were stone steels with demon races characters written on them. Warriors, Welcome to the last test, you Emperor's Wall. A loud voice sounded in their ears. Lin Feng and Princess Li were shocked. Everyone who can come to this place is the best of the best of the best in our nation of devils. Even if you can't enter Emperor Yu's divine realm in the end, you will still be valued by Emperor Yu and get the rewards you deserve in Emperor Yu's wall. Choose any door to enter and defeat the incarnation of Yu Emperor. Well, there are only 3. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. According to the artificial intelligence, there were obviously a lot of rewards in the Yu Emperor's wall. Looking at the stone steels in front, Lin Feng was thoughtful. The road of strength, the road of science and technology, the road of darkness. Princess Li murmured softly. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The 3 stone steels were engraved with these words. Both of them were lost in thought. Combined with the artificial intelligence, they had some ideas, but they couldn't be sure. There were no other warriors coming, so they were not in a hurry. They had to be more cautious in the last test. There was only one chance to choose. Technology refers to another form of power, right? Princess Li looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded. The warriors in the Nirvana world really didn't know what technology was. Princess Li was very smart to analyze it like this. In a word, strength is energy, technology is energy. The so-called energy is the change of energy, just like the 2 giant trees with intertwined roots. Princess Li nodded. I understand. Lin Feng said, the question now is, what do these 3 roads mean? There are 2 possibilities. Princess Li said. Lin Feng nodded, but there are also 2 possible combinations. They looked at each other and smiled. Both of them had sorted out their thoughts. The 3 different snake-shaped roads. The stone steels above might refer to the road itself, the incarnation of Yu Emperor, or both. The reward mentioned by the artificial intelligence should be in this passage. There is one possibility. There are ways to enhance strength in the path of strength. There are precious technologies in the path of technology. There are abilities to enhance the darkness origin in the path of darkness. Lin Feng said, but this is only one of the possibilities. Or the reward mentioned by the artificial intelligence is treasures. Sacred pools and fruits to enhance strength. Technological weapons with powerful lethality and technological treasures to assist cultivation. Holy treasures of the darkness origin or even ancient treasures. Princess Li nodded slightly. There were too many possibilities. If they didn't enter, they would never know what was inside. After exchanging their opinions, they pondered again. Or, if we enter the same passage, we will have a better chance if we work together. Princess Li suggested. Her beautiful eyes fell on the path of darkness on the far right. We all practice the path of darkness. The energy of the origin is powerful. This path is the most suitable for us. No, it is likely to be a solo challenge. Lin Feng said. Princess Li frowned slightly. She believed in Lin Feng's judgment. The challenger is the incarnation of Emperor Yu. His strength is not ordinary. At least, he is in the top 3 of the divine list. He is really at the top of the star stage. Lin Feng said, the divine realm of Emperor Yu is used to select the elites of the elites in the kingdom of demons. Only 3 people will be selected. The difficulty of the last test can be imagined. The kingdom of demons is a civilization of the demon clan in the last era. They rely on technology to survive. The second is the power of the demon clan. Lin Feng said seriously, so the path of strength and the path of technology are relatively better. The path of darkness has the most variables. It is very likely to be the magic medicine of a Yu clan. It is intermediate or even advanced. But it is not useful to you. Lin Feng looked at Princess Li. Princess Li already had a bottle of intermediate magic medicine of the Yu clan. It was enough for her to enhance the path of darkness to the 3rd level. But this was the limit. Unless she reached the galaxy state, it was difficult for Princess Li to enhance the origin star realm from the 3rd level to the 4th level. The 3rd level could only accommodate the 3rd level of the path of darkness. Princess Li pursed her lips. Suddenly, someone is coming. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He turned around and looked back. Chapter 1124. It was Luo. He ranked first on the divine list of Minwu, and was second only to Li Mubai among all the people. Lin Feng looked at Luo, who shrank the distance into inches and came to him unhurriedly. He looked calm. It was a coincidence to meet him here, but not too coincidental. Luo, the founder of the Luotian Union, was a legendary powerhouse. He was an ambitious person with both wisdom and courage. It was not difficult for him to crack the secret of the second test. It was just a matter of time. Senior Luo, Princess Li said respectfully. Luo landed on the ground and nodded to Princess Li. He looked at Lin Feng. Sparks flew when they looked at each other. But Princess Li fell between them impartially and stopped the war without gunpowder in an instant. She didn't resolve it because it couldn't be resolved. Princess Li was quite smart. She avoided direct contact with Luo, which was equivalent to giving both sides a way out. Princess Li, you deserve your reputation. Luo smiled indifferently. He was very graceful. Thank you. Princess Li responded with a smile. She knew what Luo meant. Although it was Lin Feng who cracked the second test, there was no need to provoke Luo in order to avoid deepening the hatred. Luo didn't stay on Lin Feng for too long. He hated Lin Feng, but he wouldn't end it at this time. First, he had to prioritize. It was the key to compete for the place. It was unnecessary to waste time. He was confident to fight against two people, but it was unnecessary to offend the Peerless Hall. Second, Emperor Yu's field was created by Emperor Yu. It was guarded by a force. He might not be able to kill Lin Feng. It was more likely that he would just drive Lin Feng out. It didn't make any sense. Princess Li, have you decided which way to go? Luo asked suddenly. He had already known the rules of the third test. Princess Li shook her head gently. Luo smiled and pointed to the way of strength. I plan to go here. Oh, Lin Feng and Princess Li were surprised. See you later. Luo didn't waste time and didn't expect Princess Li to answer. He entered the way of strength almost without hesitation. In just an instant, he had already made a decision. This kind of decisiveness was extremely shocking. Is the first path of strength very good? Princess Li was puzzled. I don't know if it's good, but Luo is hinting at you, Lin Feng said. Hinting at me? Princess Li was stunned and suddenly understood. As Lin Feng said, Luo immediately chose the path of strength as soon as she came in. Luo's behavior indeed caused a great psychological hint to her. But Princess Li was puzzled and said, is it worth it for him to make the decision to enter the path of strength so quickly in order to let me enter the path of strength? Lin Feng replied, he didn't choose to enter the path of strength. Instead, he only entered the path of strength. Oh, I see. Princess Li got it immediately and suddenly understood. Lin Feng smiled. In truth, it was very simple. Normally, when a cultivator saw these three paths, they would not choose the path of science and technology. It was full of unknowns, and they were not good at it. Then, the only remaining paths were the path of strength and the path of darkness. The Tao of darkness was very simple. As the name implied, it was the source of darkness. No matter which aspect it was all related to the source of darkness. But what would happen to a martial artist without a heart of darkness? The existence of this path was of no use at all. Luo didn't practice the Tao of darkness. It was not so much that he chose the path of strength. It was better to say that the path of strength chose him. He only had one path. We have thought for so long, but we can't think of anything. Make a decision. Lin Feng looked at Princess Li. Princess Li pondered for a while. Child Lin, which path do you suggest me choose? I suggest. Lin Feng glanced at the three paths and finally fixed his eyes on the path in the middle. He said seriously, Princess Li, you may have no interest in science and technology and have never touched it, but I think this is the most suitable path for you. Why? Princess Li was puzzled. Lin Feng replied, many changes do not deviate from the original. In fact, science and technology are in many ways related to strength. And you have the most important key point of science and technology. What? Princess Li was puzzled. Lin Feng pointed to his head. Intelligence. Science and technology need intelligence to create and use it. Lin Feng looked at Princess Li. Maybe you have never touched science and technology, so it will be difficult for you at the beginning. But I believe you will be proficient with your intelligence soon. Moreover, If you enter the path of strength and the path of darkness, your strength can't compare with other warriors. If you want to advance, you must gamble and fight. Sometimes it is not a bad thing to take the unconventional path. Take the unconventional path. Princess Lee moved up and down and gritted her teeth. Obviously, she was struggling with her thoughts. After a long time, her beautiful eyes shone slightly. "I will listen to you, child Lin." Princess Lee smiled at Lin Feng and said, "I hope we can make a miracle and get one of the 3 places to meet in the divine realm of you, Emperor." "Definitely." Lin Feng smiled and said with great confidence. They said goodbye and went their separate ways. Lin Feng looked at Princess Lee entering the path of science and technology and also made a decision. He would definitely not choose the path of strength where Luo was. Staying on the same path with a competitor who had a grudge with him was like dancing on the cliff. Although his strength had improved a lot, it was still not enough to compete with Luo. He was not afraid of Luo, but there was no need to confront him head-on at this time. He had no intention to be brave. The only choice left was the path of science and technology and the path of darkness. Each had its advantages and disadvantages. If I choose the path of science and technology, I can help Princess Lee and learn from each other. We can advance and retreat together. The path of darkness is actually not bad. Lin Feng thought that if Princess Lee entered, she might not be of much help. But he was different. His great way of origin of darkness had not reached the limit, and there was still a lot of room for improvement. Even if it was only a holy treasure of the origin of darkness, it could also enhance his combat capability. However, there were advantages and disadvantages. As he analyzed for Princess Lee, the attainment of the origin of darkness in the Thousands Demons Kingdom should be the worst among the 3 great ways. Lin Feng closed his eyes and took a long breath. He followed his heart. In fact, the answer had already been in his heart. Choosing the path of science and technology was a low-risk profit, while choosing the path of darkness was a high-risk investment. Each had its own advantages. But now Princess Lee was on the path of science and technology. As an ally who had been fighting side by side, it would be better if they could pass the 3 tests and complete the promotion together. Lin Feng smiled and opened his eyes. He slowly walked toward the path that Princess Lee had walked and entered the path of science and technology. Brilliant light flowed in front of him, as if a gate to a different world had been opened. Lin Feng only needed to take a step and he would really enter it. Suddenly, he stopped and opened his eyes wide as if he thought of something. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead and his chest heaved up and down. I almost forgot this. Lin Feng looked at the depths of the snake-shaped passage with deep eyes. Chapter 1125. Lin Feng exited from the passage of the road of science and technology. He quickly glanced at the 3 snake-shaped passages and couldn't help laughing. 3 passages, 3 people are promoted. What a coincidence. The establishment of the divine realm of Emperor, you aim to select the elite powerhouses of the Thousands Demons Kingdom. Obviously, the tests were not only to find a most powerful powerhouse, but also various categories. There's a 50% possibility. Lin Feng thought secretly. A snake-shaped passage might only have 1 incarnation of Emperor Yu, or only 1 person who could promote. If he entered the road of science and technology, the relationship between him and Princess Lee would be really complicated and difficult to advance or retreat. Of course, this was only a possibility, but he didn't want to try it. Because for him, entering the road of darkness was not necessarily worse than entering the road of science and technology. If there's only 1 person who can promote in a passage, I'm afraid there will be a fight. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He got up and stepped into the road of darkness on the far right. Like Luo, he didn't have to choose any road, but this was the only road. The difference was this road of darkness should be very suitable for him. Whoosh! As if a gate of hell was opened, Lin Feng stepped in. The thick air of darkness rushed his face. The snake-shaped passage was deep and long. Stepping into it, he felt that he was deep in darkness. Beside the passage, there were metal doors with roaring demons. The black light flickered, which was weird and magical. It was like a huge, ancient tree with countless branches. Welcome to the Road of Darkness, warrior. You will be rewarded by Emperor Yu. As the first warrior to enter the Road of Darkness, you will have the control of 5 dark doors and 5 dark challenge tokens. If you crush the dark challenge tokens, you will go to the end of the passage to challenge the incarnation of Emperor Yu. Remember, you only have 5 chances. As the artificial intelligence's voice fell, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. 5 dark tokens engraved with the image of Emperor Yu were suspended in front of him. Lin Feng waved his hands and instantly took them into his pocket. I didn't expect that the first one to enter would get such treatment. The road of science and technology is more unpopular than the road of darkness. Princess Li should also get the best treatment. The road of strength is probably the most popular one. Lin Feng smiled. He hadn't thought of this before, so it could be considered a coincidence. Among the 9 warriors, the flying Ji clan's patriarch, Ji Ying, had already been eliminated. The Stellar Hall Master, Qi Yu, and Princess Qi all cultivated the Tao of Light, so they probably wouldn't enter the Tao of Darkness. The warriors who chose the Tao of Strength would definitely be the most numerous, and the competition would be the most intense. Dark Challenge Token. Lin Feng clenched his fist, his eyes bright. The right to control the 5 doors of darkness. Looks like there's something good here. Lin Feng was not in a hurry to enter. He walked slowly along the snake-shaped tunnel, digesting the information from the artificial intelligence while observing the doors of darkness. The so-called door of darkness was obviously the metallic door with all kinds of roaring demons engraved on it. But there was no message outside the metal door, and Tian Ho could not penetrate the metal door to sense what was inside. In other words, they would only know what was inside once they entered. Every door of darkness is very similar. I can't see any pattern for now. Lin Feng carefully observed every dark door. He wasn't in a hurry to challenge Emperor Yu's clone, as the 3rd test didn't even have a time limit. This was enough to prove the difficulty of this test. It was 100% demon-level difficulty. To pass the test, the key should be inside the door of darkness. The only difference is these metallic demon statues. Lin Feng was shocked. Not all the metallic demon statues were different. Many of the metallic demon statues he saw along the way were the same. The same door of darkness might have the same secret. This was the only pattern that he could find for now. The snake-shaped tunnel was very long. There were hundreds of doors of darkness. Lin Feng slowly walked to the end of the tunnel, and what entered his eyes was a huge wall of light. The demonic black light flickered, completely sealing off the snake-shaped tunnel. He could vaguely feel the powerful, violent aura contained in the wall of light, as well as a shadow shrouded in darkness. Emperor Yu's clone. At the very least, he has the combat strength of a peak star, comparable to the top 3 experts on the divine list, Lin Feng said. Although there was a wall of light between them, Emperor Yu's clone gave him a feeling that he was far stronger than Li Mu Bai. This was the true emperor of the demon race. Even if he was just a clone, the pressure he exuded was quite terrifying. It was not an easy task to challenge him, but that was why he had a chance. If Emperor Yu's clone was not strong enough, Li Mu Bai, Luo, and the Starry Hall Master could pass directly. The stronger, the better. Lin Feng's fighting spirit was boiling. He was not afraid of the difficulty of this test, because everyone was the same. If he could defeat Emperor Yu's clone, it meant that his combat strength would reach a more terrifying level. It would be of great help to his revenge plan and the elimination of the demon star. Whoosh, Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and he immediately turned back. He did not go too far, but stopped in front of the door closest to the end of the tunnel and looked directly at the ferocious metallic demon statue. After walking through the entire snake-shaped tunnel, there were still no clues, and there was no need to waste time. He would know what the door of darkness was after trying. At least according to common sense, there were not many good things at the beginning of the door, and the deeper one went, the more precious it was. Ha! Lin Feng touched the door of darkness without hesitation, but there was an invisible force that kept him out. It was powerful and profound. Lin Feng's origin of darkness appeared in his hand, but the result did not change, and the door of darkness seemed to be locked. I understand. Lin Feng suddenly understood. If everyone could enter directly, the control was just empty talk. With a flash in his hand, Lin Feng took out the Dark Challenge token, which contained the same energy as the Door of Darkness. He gently touched the black luster, and, as expected, the two poles attracted each other like magnets. In an instant, the top of the Dark Challenge token changed strangely, and a black light shone. The statue of Emperor Yu actually dissolved, and the appearance of the metallic demon statue outside the Door of Darkness appeared. It was incomparably magical. Lin Feng did not step into the Door of Darkness, but he was sucked in by the power of the Dark Challenge token. Whoosh! As Lin Feng entered, the Door of Darkness closed instantly, and the strange energy shrouded it again. This is the Door of Darkness. Lin Feng looked around. It was not a big room, more than 1,000 square meters, and there were all kinds of demon race experts in the room. Many of them were very familiar, because he had seen their appearance on the metallic statue outside the Door of Darkness. The whole room was filled with a strong demon race aura, the origin of darkness. The black light flashed and only appeared in the center of the room, like a bright moon decorated with stars. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and his heart skipped a beat. Oh! Lin Feng slowly stepped forward, revealing a happy expression.